So professional. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you guys are celebrating. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome
If
back.
you're not celebrating Christmas, that's cringe.
Well, if you're celebrating Hanukkah, you know.
Oh, that's me. Hold on a second.
Cringe.
So, welcome back to the Sci-Fi Shadow Chat. Hey, what's up, GM Johnny? Tonight
If you're Jewish, it ain't Christmas, right?
Don't get him started. Don't get him started.
You're Muslim. It's like Ramadan.
And by the way, Sport, I really like your icon, but I'd rather see your bright and shiny smiley
ugly
face.
Mug.
Well, hey, you
I don't
know,
have a
you must
camera.
be doing something right. He and I were invited over to 10 Cars Tavern on New Year's Eve, which I've never been on his show. I've been trying to get him on my show because I want to do a one-on-one. Hey, Bear, what's happening, brother?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. We're
I haven't seen you in forever.
I know. No.
let me guess, you guys were hanging out earlier doing this the UFO thing.
Yeah, he came on after we wrapped it up to talk some interesting stuff. It's fun.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So you weren't here last week, Bear. We're every one of us is making up an alien race.
I drew it.
We're not creating
cool.
alien.
Oh, awesome.
What is? No, we're not creating aliens. We're creating Aloens.
Oh, is that that's the PC version of Aliens?
No, it's just how Shadow spelt it in the title.
All right, so Santa, do you have the reindeer ready to go? You know, we need to make
All right,
sure
that's it. I'm calling dibs on my species being called the Elohans.
Oh, awesome.
You guys want to see something cool? I'll show you something cool.
All right.
Keep your pants on.
Hey, if that camera goes any lower, I'm punching out.
Dude, your beard is like grown 10 times since I last saw you. Oh, no way. That is cool shit.
They're cloning. He's cloning now.
That's right. Santa does not work alone.
Go back. Give everybody a chance. I want to make that the screenshot somehow. I want to get the two of you.
I'm sitting here playing Oxygen Not Included.
So does your dad have a giant beard too?
Yes, of course.
Does your mom have a giant beard?
It's just like
beard
genetic.
You dumb bastards.
They're all
I'm
dwarves. That's it. They're all dwarves.
Based on Hungar now.
Yeah.
No. I have beard envy now.
I don't know, man. I'm keeping mine where it is.
No, you should have the Santa beard.
Called me today. It's like, hey, I'm 30 minutes away from Mom's house because he's up in Indiana. And I was like, well, I'm about an hour and 10 minutes away. I'll see you in a little bit. I haul ass up here and get to the house and nobody's home. So I called my dad. I'm like, hey, where the hell are you guys? Like, we're all eating. If we would have known you were coming, we would have waited for you. I was like, I told my brother, and he's like, no, you didn't. Then I get to the restaurant, and my sister-in-law was like, I heard you say you were on your way, and I believed you, but your brother didn't. Yeah, because I'm not going to drive 90 miles to see my brother, who I haven't seen in like 5 months.
So are you guys up in Kentucky right now, or
Indiana?
Kentucky. My brother was in Indiana.
Oh.
It's his graduation. And now we in Kentucky.
Pretty cool.
Except for the goblins.
Well, you know what? He's right over there with Mammoth Cave again.
So, Shadow, you were explaining what's happening, sir?
Yeah, we're making alien characters, brand new race. All you got to do is
My dad's coffee mug.
Awesome!
I need to buy a shirt from you.
My dad has a shirt and stickers.
You already have one.
It's on the fridge.
That's cool.
I like the coffee mug, especially with the black
My
background.
mom has a Hungar shirt too.
Okay, so Hungar, while you're walking around your dad's house, I want to see you as a fucking kid. on the wall. I know there's a picture of you on the wall somewhere. I see you as a young man, and you're gonna have to blow that up, Shadow.
No, wait a minute. You know what's going to happen? It's going to be him with the beard
Come on,
as a
open
4-year-old.
it. Let's check it out.
Over here, Halsey.
Here's me and my first wife.
Oh, wow.
No, that's just an old picture.
No, that's me and my first wife.
Yeah, that's him.
And then here is my great uncle with Abbott Costello.
Here you are.
Oh, awesome.
nice.
Epic.
Again, Abbott Costello.
Halsey.
Here's a picture of me.
Ah.
Steve 17 now.
Yeah. Here's my brother.
Oh, damn. Look at that.
Epic.
So,
Here's my mother.
we should have been putting a picture of Bear on
Beautiful
the
young
wall.
lady.
So what happened to you guys, man? Your mom's good. Your mom's a good-looking lady. What happened to you two?
You can skip me, but I still don't care.
And here's a picture of my brother in the war and me when I was younger. And then here's a picture of me and my brother.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a picture of Bear. Bear.
It doesn't look anything like Bear.
Looks nothing like me.
Nothing like me.
Hello. Is this your mother or is this your...
I can't help it. I'm sorry. I had no choice in the matter.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that I don't get anyone wrong there, Hungar, and your family relations.
My family is awesome.
I didn't
Yeah,
say a word. I just want to make sure I don't insult them.
Like, Lee, they don't have the with them Santas this year. I'm just going to pick you up another one.
Although they make me go outside to vape.
Did Santa ever come to Kentucky?
Motherfucker, I'm here right now.
Don't you
Maybe
understand?
past it.
Don't you understand that Kentucky's where he spends his winter months minus the settling up for the reindeer?
Gotcha.
That was my mom. Here, I'll tell you something funny. I took my mom and my dad out to dinner one night. And a fucking waiter, excuse my language, but this really burnt my ass a little bit. The waiter thought that my dad was my son and my mom was my daughter-in-law.
Wow.
Well, you know what? While I got him mad, he played it off the entire dinner.
Oh, I went with it.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
You start berating your dad. Damn kid.
Yeah.
It's like you either get a job, you move out, or you join the military. That's
By the way,
it.
Shadow, this is the feeling of losing complete control of your stream. In case you're wondering.
No, it's Hungar. He's got carte blanche.
No, but that's what he does. He does it to my streams too. It's Hungar, the force
I
of
wouldn't have it
nature.
any other way, As a matter of
And
fact, I just sent about
it.
something.
That's the crazy thing about this. You don't have to let me in the stream, but you
Listen.
guys always let me in the stream.
Listen, Hurricane
Dude,
Hungar,
you
we
know
love
better.
you.
Exactly.
Like Waffle House. If I'm open, shit's good.
Oh, there you go. That's
When I don't show up, that's when you need to start worrying.
Amen.
No, I wasn't planning on coming up here at all. My brother called me.
It's
ready to take-
Hungar's power feed. What does that mean, Grandma?
I was getting ready to take a nap, and my brother called me. And he's like, I'm 30 minutes outside of the town where my parents live. And I was like, I'll be there in an hour and 15 minutes. Hopped in the car and drove, man.
Tell you, man, Hurricane Hungar.
Shit, it takes me a week to get out of fucking Texas in any direction.
Well, it's 98 miles. To come up and hang out with my dad, my mom, my brother, and my sister-in-law, it's worth a 98-mile trip.
Yeah, that is. An hour and a half is not that much.
It
I mean, it takes me it takes me 12 hours to go see my family.
And the big-ass porterhouse with baked potato and Caesar salad made it even more worthwhile.
bonus.
And then the homemade chocolate cake here at my mom's house. And the fresh bread in the morning with the home-cooked breakfast is going to be even better.
Sounds more like a bread and breakfast, with
Is your childhood room still there? Is it like got your G.I. Joes on the wall and shit?
That's in Florida. We sold that house.
Oh, okay.
My parents were smart. We had a house, and we sold that house and got a much bigger house, a much nicer house. And when they retired, they sold that for an exorbitant amount of money and moved up to our property in Kentucky.
There you go.
And that was their retirement. Bought the house, paid off. The land was already paid off. Got him a side by side. My dad bought him a bunch of firearms, you know. And we live. My mom lives on where she grew up, with the best view in town.
Very cool.
That's awesome, dude. You're very lucky to be able to do that.
And when my lease is up, I'll be living right next door to him. Coming over here every day to mooch dinner.
Hell yeah. Yeah, my folks are gone, dude. They've been gone.
Well,
Yeah,
my
same here,
parents. Everybody knows my parents are going to outlive me. That's why they want me to move up here.
Well, you know what? That's worth it, man. I mean,
yeah, it's worth it.
Worth it, but
I live with that.
we want Hungar around as long as possible. But I know what you mean.
You need to live in the basement, though, dude.
I'm going to have my own house. That way I can have bitches over. Don't come over.
Yeah. Get the bitches.
Excuse me.
Yeah, the strong, empowered, brave women.
No, I'm getting the bitches. Hungar likes nurses.
Oh.
Hungar would love the Philippines. I keep telling you.
Oh, I know.
Nurses like Hungar.
There you go.
Trust me, you'd have little Pinay hanging off that beard, man. They'd just be little brown girls grabbing onto it. You'd be a happy man.
I like a little brown girls. I got some Filipinos who really want me to move to the Philippines. So what are we even talking about tonight?
Space aliens.
Apparently you.
No, we're talking about aliens.
Yeah, aliens. Right. Last week we were discussing running a sci-fi game with no humans, just aliens, no humans in the game whatsoever. Just because so many folks out there think that you can't play something like that or an elf or a dwarf properly because we don't know how. You know, we've never been them, so we always do it wrong. It's just a skin suit, and I'm trying to show folks out there, you can. You just have to, bring out your A game when you're doing it. So we decided to create from scratch brand new races of alien species for a sci-fi game using, the most common denominator, that being basically D&D rules. Strength, intelligence, wisdom down the road or down the line, 3d6, except one stat you get to pick. You get to add a fourth d6, as is. You total all four numbers up, and you put the stats wherever you want to help, make not necessarily a stereotypical version of that race, but one of their members that would be on this big alien ship that's going to go do alien Star Trekian stuff, exploring another completely different galaxy that might have humans in it.
I missed that part. I thought you just said make a fucking alien. I didn't know the crew
idea.
and all that
Yeah,
shit.
see, I am resigning in protest because all of this is convoluted.
I thought
idea.
you were there last week. You said
Of
you
course,
were
of course,
insect.
he's being a smart ass.
Shadow, I agree with
Yeah.
you. Have a game with nothing but aliens except the players, and they're like the guys in Aliens 2, the Marines, and their job is to kill all the freaking aliens. That sounds a lot more fun.
It's been done a million times. I
Yeah.
want to do different.
That's
It's
a common
not
game.
necessarily going to run this game, but for the
Just
sake
because
of
it's
argument,
been done before doesn't mean it's not fun.
Yeah, but aliens are cool.
I've done it.
Yeah, the older you get,
fun.
the more no, we gotta play it this way. We can't do new things, man.
You can do whatever the hell you want. That's what's the great thing about the hobby. You can do whatever you want. And if somebody doesn't like it, you can tell them to eat a bag of Richards.
Eat a bag of Richard.
That's my whole philosophy. Do what you like, and if somebody doesn't like it, Tell them to just bugger off.
Well, yep. And when we say create an alien race, you also have to give them positive and negatives in there as well.
Right.
Yeah, if I created an alien race, it would be a methane breather, and he'd have to be in a freaking suit that, supplies him with
Been
methane.
done. Been
What?
fucking done.
So what?
Hey, you're not allowed to just like
If I was going to
him.
create an alien, it would be Pepe the Navigator from my T-shirt.
he just wants to look like a giant fish, that's in the gas.
I
The
was not
orange-
here. I did not say this.
Yes. where everyone walks up next to it and opens up, talks to the Emperor, then closes again and goes back. Yes.
Oh man, the Lynch's Dune with the Navigator Guild, those guys looked awesome, man.
Oh, they
What
did.
I
I loved them.
About aliens in sci-fi games is you're always, and I love Star Trek, but you're always going to get somebody who wants to play a Worf wannabe.
Those weren't aliens to me. Those were
I always
just
wanted to
humans
play an
with
Andoran. That's my
prosthetics.
favorite
Star
Star Trek race, are the Andorans. They just look cool.
I like
Not
the
sure
Gorge
about
better.
I hadn't thought about it.
You can do that,
Brian,
so
RPG Grandma. 3-based
drew a
math
picture for
systems aren't
mine.
that hard.
Cool.
Look up the Edoans from the Star Trek animated series RPG Grandma. 3 arms, 3 legs.
Oh yeah, they had some cool aliens in
Yeah.
the animated series.
Oh, the animation, yeah, but they weren't limited by budget, which helped a lot more.
What
For
the
And yet the animation was pretty stick motion. It
it was
was
all right.
well, yeah,
it
but
was
I mean, that's like
barely
1960
animated, dude. Come on. I
Hey,
love Star
you
Trek
could-
and all
you could
that.
even say the what was it? The Kazin were the predecessors to the Thundercats.
The
All right.
Thundercats were awesome.
Was that yours, Brian? Let me blow
That's
you up.
mine. These are the Gleep Glops.
Hold on.
Umbra.
Bring
Guys,
it
I'm
back-
going
bring
to
it
out
back
All
here.
right, check it out.
I'm going guys on the stream.
Oh my God!
What? It's a rock guy, right? It's like a rock form, and these little things fly around. These rocks kind of float around their body. That's what they use to manipulate shit.
Uh-huh.
And these little orifice here, they excrete this like scent, and that's how they communicate. They communicate with scent.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
And how they eat is they eat off the emotions of other sentient creatures. They absorb the excessive emotions of sentient creatures, and they float around. They're kind of
You did
Right.
your homework, man.
Yeah, good job.
they speak by smells. They excrete that like gas or whatever, and they inhale it, and they that's how they speak. The spinning manipulator chunks float around them, and that's what kind of grabs stuff or whatever.
Are we gonna get a nerd's nerd coming in with hers?
If she
And
would
their
like,
weapons are the radiation. They emanate radiation. Like they don't shoot anything. It just like a wave.
Wait, some,
There you go.
Right.
The Gleep Glops. Those little mountains in the front of them that eject the smoke. How they talk. So if you're stinky, you offend them. So it's really hard. It's almost impossible to communicate with them because you got to be in control of your pheromones and all that shit.
Well, what happens if you're not stinky? They might be offended because
That's
now you have
true.
to-
They're alien. You're not quite sure what the hell they want.
That's right.
And they're enslavers. They enslave sentient races and feed off their emotions.
Oh, by releasing pheromones.
They're scare
Just
them.
making sure.
Now
And what are
that-
their weaknesses? What are their weaknesses there?
You can't. It's hard to communicate. They're bad. You can't really communicate with them. They don't have any spoken language or sign language. It's all like pheromones. So, lack of communication there. And again, they're an aggressive race. Their spaceships are like asteroids. Just kind of ride on top of them.
hold up. I have a quick question for Hungar in the chat. Is it okay if I use a picture of you as a wanted poster in a website?
That's
Dude,
what do you say, Hungar?
you don't have to ask permission. Just do it.
No, it's because I
Did
for some
you
reason.
not listen, Mac? No. Yeah.
I got Hunter's picture all over
Okay,
bunch
good.
of sites you didn't even know about.
Whatever you
Jackie,
I
want,
forgot I
whatever
Jack.
you
had this
want, bro.
picture. I forgot I had this
Awesome.
picture. In all honesty.
Okay, still, we got to get the James Gang poster made up as well. I want to see that the full black and white Western gear. You know, sporting. Although I don't know what we're going to do about Justin. We'll have to just put him off on a separate wanted poster in the wanted poster because he won't show his face except that goofy ancient freaking.
It'll be a artist rendition, and it's just like a big pile of poop or something. A steaming pile of poo.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, Mac. I was actually quickly sketching up my alien. I'm gonna biggerize myself.
Well, I wasn't here for the last one, but conveniently, I've been working on a Star Trek campaigns, and that made me create some aliens. I can certainly present one of them if you'd like.
No.
It's a
What-
quick sketch.
oh.
It took me like 1 minute, but it's an energy alien race.
Wait, hold up.
Exit solo layout. That is all about information gathering and facilitating. Otherwise, most of their stats are pretty low. They have to expend a lot of energy to become somewhat solid, so they can manipulate things in our sort of reality. Otherwise, they're quite intelligent, somewhat quick when they do have to do things, but they would literally have to lose some of their hit points or take points off their stats to give themselves actual, physical mass to slow down and, stop vibrating so quickly.
So, what are their negatives? And on top of their positives,
The negatives is that their physical stats would be converted into give them actual hit points, or vice versa. If you were to, like hit them with, a disruptor or something like that, they would lose stat points rather quickly, and their constitution for the most part would be like their hit points, and making them, impervious to lots of things. But in order for them to do anything, they would have to give up, some of their life force temporarily.
Did they do that in Star Trek Next Generation? They're like bags of water. Not the one.
I can't understand a word you're saying, so I'm going to say no.
Next Generation, didn't they have something like that where they called the humans ugly bags of water?
Oh yeah, weren't they like almost microscopic?
I think they were energy, weren't they? Weren't they energy creatures from that episode?
So that would be the microbrains that described humans as extremely unattractive, just ugly bags of mostly water. They were the little, the light that kept multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. It's from the first season of the TNG.
Thanks, Grandma. You sound like Marty McFly in a hazmat suit.
Now I'm gonna mention this much, since we know that Brian had last week said he wanted to be the captain. What would be your role and function there on the ship? There, Shadow.
They would be either communications or science, I guess. Like I said, dealing mostly with information, maybe even the equivalent of the ship's librarian.
Okay.
They have like space, like energy glasses on them.
I could draw that, but it would be a monocle because they only have the one optical input sensor. But yes, I could draw the monocle, and that would make Jackie overjoyed.
That would be epic. Monocles are objectively a great way to see.
But they have to have the gold chain with them, otherwise it just doesn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You need that.
Yes,
They got to have the suit below them so they may fall in them when they're
That's right.
struck.
and the suit has to look like you're from Kentucky, your Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah.
I never.
Okay, I'm drawing the vest.
Okay. That's.
They got
Yeah,
a vest.
pocket.
We meant a spacesuit, not an actual 3-piece. No.
I have a feeling all of Shadow's characters are going to have fucking vests. I just have a feeling.
Hey.
I have a feeling. I don't know why.
Hey, I'm bringing them back, man. I'm bringing them back.
They never went out of style. They just.
There you go. There you go.
Wait. Where is it?
Grandma, I would assume that they would be more of a gas giant type inhabitant with the the massive energy storms and things like that, and somehow some particles or masses of energy just coalesced into some sort of intelligent life form. Yeah,
What
like that.
Where they eat.
So Omen, what did you
Yes.
come up with? I know
Where
you
they
came
eat.
up.
Well, you know what? We'll go with the one that's almost the opposite, but similar to what Brian has, which are I was doing the crystalline creatures, and of course they can't. They don't have any mouths, and they can't. They don't breathe. Most of their stuff is piezoelectric on how they communicate, so they can either do it by tapping the ground, or in certain cases they can do it by electromagnetic waves, for that, and by colors too. So they also, they can kind of flash like octopi can, and so that's how they can communicate. So if it's electrical, they can do that. So usually, if they were going to communicate with the rest of the crew, you would hook up, a microphone, and then they would use their electricity to move the speaker that way. And that's what they were going to do. They wouldn't really be affected by atmosphere in any way, shape, or form, but they are, while they have very hard skin, but you can shatter them. So parts of them can get shattered. So that's part of their the problem that they have, and they're just big and clunky too. So if you go and take it things, we see all the crystals and everything else, especially if you ever see like geodes and stuff like that, just take out the inside, and that's what you're going to see is all those crystals. Laser weapons aren't that effective against them, but kinetic weapons are much more effective.
And giant tuning forks would be their nemesis.
Actually, no, you're joking, but that would be resonance. Resonance would be able to crack them pretty easily, so sonic weapons would be very effective.
Uh-oh, here comes nerds. Stirring up shit. How you doing, nerds?
Doing good. Not sure where I got this reputation as a shit star from.
Nah, I'm just messing with you.
Sit around me, stars. It doesn't mean I'm the starilla.
That's her story.
I fully believe you.
No,
she is the calm amongst the hurricane. She is the eye of the hurricane. Everyone else says eye of the tiger, but she's eye of the hurricane.
So Jackson, tell us about your alien.
Okay, so hold up.
You guys speak into the microphone, son.
Oh, sorry about that. So I don't have any stats or whatever because I think that's kind of gay. But I do have a picture.
It's gay.
Okay, let's see the picture and tell us the story.
That's the big problem. I'm finding it difficult to get the picture on screen.
We'll just bring it up to me. Oh, it's on your screen. Oh,
it's on the computer. Yes.
It's in the computer.
Can't you just email your father the picture?
Actually, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Can you put it in the?
Wait, no, I found a better way to do it.
Okay.
Print it.
Okay,
Share screen.
Yeah. Okay. I'm doing.
Oh, and while he's doing that, I got to mention my character would be the engineer around the dilithium crystal equivalent. Oh, there we go.
Do you see the picture?
Yes, it looks like you have a crab person.
Yes, I do have a crab person.
That is really good. He's like, did you just take
crab
Yoda
unit.
and crabify him?
No, I took the body of a crab and the claw of a crab, put some like blanket things next to him, a chest piece of armor, and then a little fur hat for one of the shoulders. And then just put a background of storms. And
That's
change
really
the
good.
lighting up a bit.
That's really good. Wish I could make it bigger. Can you guys see that really well?
Yeah, I can see it pretty well.
It also
Um,
makes sense, right? Statistically, most animals evolve into crabs.
Exactly.
There you go.
It looks like he looks like he'd cook up well with some butter. Crack that bad boy, steam him up.
They're nearly extinct because they taste delicious.
Yeah.
It tastes like chicken.
Why do people say that? You know what tastes like chicken is chicken and triggerfish. Those are the two things that taste like chicken.
So you definitely get an A for the art, but I need to hear more. Tell us about your crusty crustaceans.
Okay, so I could, and I don't think this is what you want me to do, but I could explain like the lore or whatever I've come up for them. But if you just want me to explain what they physically are,
Well, give us some lore. Come on. Let's hear
okay,
it.
so they existed as a people in space that took over a lot of like the stars or whatever, and became one of the great powers of the galaxy.
Of course.
Eventually,
As
yeah,
they're
of
wont
course.
to do.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And they were one of the great powers, but in the like World War I, essentially, the big war of where all the major powers fought each other, they ended up on the losing side. But even though they lost the war and were integrated, or they attempted to be integrated into this new great galactic empire, they rebelled, and the old royal family, or at least the remnant of it, because the king was killed, rebelled and was able to gain somewhat autonomy, and they kind of fled into space, and they ended up forming a sort of mafia type thing, and they're really into money. They have like a complete monopoly over the outer regions of space, controlling all of like the activities that go on there. They're big into selling illicit substances, black market, all that sort of stuff. Basically, all what they've become now is just a big crime syndicate. And well, there are other members of their species outwards in the galaxy. The majority of them are situated in the outer regions of space, ruling stuff, and they do everything for money. Like you ask one, why do you do things in life? It will respond, I like money. And by the way, the ruling dynasty is just called Crabs with a K.
Okay. They got a little
wait,
Chinese sound to
Oh,
it.
and
what is your job on
they
this
they
ship?
open up restaurants and they sell.
So
They open
what
up
is your
fast
job on
food
the
chains.
ship?
I forgot to mention that part. It's crucial.
Okay.
It's
So
crucial.
you're the ship's cook?
Hey guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Mel.
That's making sense.
Well, don't run off. Take a seat. Jackson's telling us he's making up aliens. He made a crab race.
Did you tell that? You didn't tell them.
I did. She's like, oh my god, that thing's got boobs, and there's something. Yeah, she said, don't draw that. Don't show them that.
Don't do that.
They don't want to be your friend anymore.
You know what? Here's the sad thing is when I saw the pictures, I said, "Oh, look, there are 2 eggs that he has placed on top of his alien."
There you go.
I told
Yeah,
him you
she's
can be
next.
weird, but don't be so weird that nobody plays with you anymore. Didn't your mama ever teach you that?
She.
No, he's talking to Shadwo. I don't think that's ever going to be a problem.
That's right. That's right.
Nice. We'll get you some stats. And it's funny because he's never really seen more. I think the only Star Trek he's ever seen, I know, Bad Dad, was the first half of the pilot, and then they took it off our Netflix, so we haven't been able to, spend some time getting into it. But I've made up for it by educating him with the Venture Brothers. So
By the way, just in case you're wondering, I've never watched a single episode of SpongeBob.
No, really? I like SpongeBob. That's fun.
Okay, that's fine. I was actually trying to stay in this room, but that's okay.
yeah, and Max says no, that's your job. So yeah, I gotta ask: is there any Cthulhu tie-in with your race there, Jackie?
Yes, actually, surprisingly. I just realized what I'm about to... I am so glad Justin's not here. I am so glad.
Well, be nice.
He'd say something about now. He'd say something.
He says the same thing all the time. We know exactly what he'd say.
Yeah, you know, I just realized it now.
Guy.
Haha, funny, they like money. Anyways, yes, there is a Cthulhu. I just pronounced it like there is a Cthulhu tie-in in a sense, which is the big, not the big. The royal family was a part of a big cult, and then when it later converted into the crime syndicate, they remained as a part of that big cult. That's too complicated to explain and not really important, but yes, there is a tie-in there.
What's the name of the cult? What's the name of the cult?
Stygian.
Stygian?
Yeah, the Stygian Society.
Considering he had a week, between episodes to come up with all this, that's pretty spectacular. Considering everything else he has to do.
What about
Seriously.
me? Mine spectacular?
Yours is.
You've had 50 years. You can do it.
No, he had a week. No. So far, I'm digging everything I'm hearing. I'm hoping, Bear, you're coming up with something to gear.
I got something.
Okay. I was gonna let Nerds go because she was here.
Let Nerds go then. Nerds, go ahead.
Give you a couple of minutes to polish your masterpiece. So what you got for us, Nerds?
So mine has evolved a little bit from the first idea, which was more about a missing goal than an actual race, right? So the aliens that I came up with they exist only as psionic manifestations of the host races to which they are the parasites of. Society's goal was to spread and assimilate and direct all life to benefit their empire by presenting themselves as part of those host races. Go to a planet, they see you because you only exist as a psionic force or manifestation. They see you as one of them if that's what you want. They feel you. It's tactile because it's directly to their brain, right? However, over time, the network, the hive minds behind this all collapsed. And so now these psionic beings are all across the galaxy. Some of them remember their mission and are working towards it, but they've reproduced, and this new generation has no connection. Some of them don't even know that's what they are. So they're simply trying to survive and exist on these planets.
Very cool.
Wow. I would have never come up with something like that. Do you have a picture?
So it would not. They have no physical form. So whenever the host race is on the planet they infect, they look like that. They sound like that. They natively speak the language because they're not actually speaking, right? There's no sound waves, but they are
I got a question.
Parasiting off of your mind.
So let's say they're human
on screen. It's Shadow.
Let's say they're human. Would I see the same human as like Bear would see, or would we see different things?
That's the crux of it. You would each see your own version.
So
however, when you try and communicate about it, whatever your description is, it makes sense in the other person's mind because this being, if they exist anywhere, it's actually in the mental state of everyone who's interacted with them, rather than being their own separate being.
It's almost like the Gelf, the Gelf from Red Dwarf. Remember? She's the
genetically engineered life
force. Where like Rimmer would see like one chick and then Lister would see another. The cat saw himself.
I was thinking the Vorlons too, where they each projected their own.
Yeah. That would work too.
That's cool.
Awesome. You guys did great work.
From? That sounds familiar.
Babylon 5.
Oh, the Shadows. Is that who they were? The big shadow guys?
No, they were the big sort of almost cycloptic robe.
Oh, the robe.
Enigmatic race of elders. Okay, Bear.
Well, I literally had to change some stuff as Nerd went along. I'm like, well, nope, okay, that's gone. Okay, nope, gotta get rid of that. So,
wow,
still
great minds think alike.
Fools seldom differ. I will instead do this and share that with you if you'd like to punch that up.
I would be more than happy.
So these are the Sklar, and you can pronounce and spell that however you like. Many aeons ago in the galaxy, the universe, what have you, there was some sort of dominant ruling species, and they genetically engineered these creatures from kelp. They are just massive brains with tentacles, and their entire purpose for these ancient alien rulers of the galaxy was to provide them with soothing. Just soothe them, keep them calm. Just they were almost like a drug for them. And eventually, their big empire collapsed, and these guys were left wandering around the galaxy, being hated by everyone because they look like shit. But they're really, really good at projecting a calming, relaxing, psionic field around themselves. As such, they've become excellent, sort of what you would call in Star Trek a counselor at this point in time. They're basically kelp octopi creatures that are really good at talking to you about your problems and listening to stuff, and they have some psionic ability, and that's it.
Wow, I love that picture. Not just that.
Mid-Journey in Photoshop. It's amazing what you can pull off.
Very cool.
Jackie's gonna have to
I did
take
that all. I did that while you guys were talking. I was like,
I really like the background too. Not just the creatures, but that background really kind of helps tell the story of I'm guessing like their early days or something like that.
So they have different.
Like I said, because they're so hideous, most species hated them and maybe even hunted them, or tried to get rid of them. And then eventually they learned their benefit, which was they can calm your shit, or they can calm your enemy's shit for you. So they're kind of useful now.
Would this field extend outside of a ship, to like combat range?
Well, so they're essentially a hive mind creation that is a hive mind in and of itself. So if you have one individual, he's made up of, or he or she or it is made up of billions and billions of little sentient cells that are creating a hive mind collective out of themselves. So it's a collective creature, and when you put enough of them together, well, they can influence everybody around them for a really long distance. So if you had 10 of them, you could probably control a ship. If you had 1,000 of them, you could maybe control a planet. And if you had 1 billion of them, well, who knows what you could control with that, right?
You're a god.
Okay. I'm starting to see this picture. You weren't here, Bear, but we were talking, about why they would all be together, and we came up with this this galaxy that had more or less, created universal peace amongst the species. But in doing so, they completely took over the galaxy. They've colonized every scrap of it. There's no room left to go. But because of this everlasting peace, there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere to expand. There's nowhere to just expand. So they decided to send out a vessel, an exploratory vessel, to go to the next galaxy, the nearest galaxy to them, to find more land. These would be their emissaries, their initial explorers, to see if there's room to expand and colonize the nearest galaxy. I'm starting to see how all these guys could work together, and I've got ideas for the galaxy that they would, when they get there, what it would be like initially. I'm starting to get some really good ideas for what it would be like, and I'm not proposing running a game, but it would be pretty interesting. I think it would definitely be a challenge for everybody involved to play a crew of these races, knowing that they're, they've been getting along for a long time, but there's probably, animosities or mixed feelings amongst them. Not everybody's going to get along perfectly. You throw Barry into the mix, and now they kind of almost don't have a choice, and I could easily see the Does your race have a name? And I don't know if I got everybody's names. I know I got Jackie's.
I didn't say
I
it.
don't have, but
I literally didn't say it.
oh, okay. What was it?
Their name is the Ren Canari, but I did say that they are under the rule of the Crabs family, which is what I
Okay.
think you were referring to.
Right. Okay. So you've got a name of your species, bear. Do
As
you
I
have a
said,
name?
they're Sklar is how they
Oh yeah,
pronounce
that's
what
right.
they
That's
are.
right.
And tying into what you said about it, I like the idea that they were used by this ancient empire to control the citizenry, and that's why they have an animosity. And maybe there's a law in this society that you can't have more than 5 of them together at any point in time due to the threat of them being able to control people. So they're restricted in number.
Well, not only that, but between those and Nerds Race and all of them put together, I could see how peace would have maybe been enforced throughout the galaxy, and with that peace would allow a golden age of prosperity and expansion, and the whole galaxy's divvied up, and you get this section, and everybody's happy with their section, and then they fill it up, and then now what? We can't war with one another. That's literally a virtual impossibility once they get to that level. And in doing so, their cooperation would lead to, technological levels, in the ludicrous range, because of all the things. What's that scale where it's like
Kardashev.
Yeah, thank you. And they've clearly gotten to that level where they've controlled the entire galaxy. They're using the energy of the galaxy to, do all kinds of crazy stuff, Dyson spheres, and all the the high level tech that most folks never want to deal with. But they built the perfect exploratory vehicle that can traverse the insane distance from one galaxy to another, and keep everybody hunky dory, plenty of supplies, whatever weapons and defense systems they think they would need. But for the most part, they're a galaxy away from home. Maybe able to psionically communicate with the home galaxy, that sort of thing. But then they get to this new galaxy and start exploring, finding out, what resources are there, what kind of, new and interesting life forms there may be to import, enslave, or make peace with, or get into some sort of big, showdown with.
I was thinking because I was captain and I feed off the emotions of sentient creatures, I was just keeping you guys around for some food.
You know what? But that works, though, as long as we all have a common goal.
Yeah.
The worst thing that could happen is if my race and Nerds race got together and decided to starve your ass by making everybody really calm and non-emotional.
No,
that's true. It's true. Then I'll just irradiate everybody. A fart and everybody gets irradiated.
Yeah, but that doesn't work with my character because I don't get noticed.
I'll just
breathe. I don't think that would
rock at you.
Excellent ship security though, because most of the crew survives that unharmed, but any intruders get wrecked.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Derek? And I've actually, given some thought into, because right now you guys are thinking, well, God, these guys are really powerful. What could possibly be a threat or a challenge, right?
Superman.
Well, no, yeah, exactly. I revel in the high level, the gonzo, the superheroic challenges that just seem to be so neglected in this hobby. I know, Bear, you're a big fan of superhero RPGs.
But I'm going to bring this up. On a ship, you've got environmental issues as much as anything else. It's not everyone wants to talk about fighting and everything else, but I always enjoy kind of the survival aspect, and when the ship starts losing power, then you have to figure out how to power it back up before everyone dies. There's a lot of other stuff out there too. And yeah, I agree with the RPG grammar there too.
Yes. Hold on. Jared
But why
wants
would I
to-
try figuring out how to kill everyone? I mean, that's not. Everyone acts like that's so hard. Look, whoever gets control of the engine and can blow up the ship will win. Yeah, sort of. So,
Bear, back to my question. Have you ever really had that problem with coming up with challenges for your superheroic characters or games? And what kind of power levels do you go with when you do that?
No, I've run everything from street level to cosmic. I don't worry about fighting them with bad guys. I attack their fucking emotions. I attack.
Yeah, you come at them sideways, right?
Yeah, always.
Good for you, man.
Let them beat up the robots. Let them beat up the bad guys, and then fuck with their family and watch them have to like, my powers are useless in this scenario. It's like, yeah.
And that's been a thing since what? The like second issue of Superman. You know, the most powerful superhero of all time. Blah 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 blah. You know, which I actually don't buy. I actually had a friend who was like, you know, kind of new to role playing outside of D&D. He's like, oh, you're running a superhero game. Can I run the Flash and Superman? I'm like, well, not exactly, but yes, because I don't run Earth. It's a total sci-fi galaxy that has nothing to do with Earth. But you know, all the typical, you know, tropes are there. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. We'll take. We started out with V&V. That didn't work out very well for very long. Went into Palladium and said, okay, we'll redo it and we'll make you, you know, as powerful as we can come up with, and you know, all the traditional Superman, Flash powers and abilities. And he ran that character for like a decade, or those characters for a decade, and I never had a problem with you know, coming up with challenges and plot twists and things like that. But yeah, Mac, they are, but and my biggest problem is, to me, it seems like it would be the easiest genre to get the newbie into, because we've been inundated with Marvel and superhero movies for better part of forever. You know, here in the States at least, you know, there's constantly been, you know, superhero references. Everybody can, you know, has heard of Superman or Batman or, you know, the Avengers or whatever by now. And it's just, no. They'd rather, you know, play your traditional, you know, fantasy RPG when, you know, a huge amount of people have like no other connection to that era. You know, they weren't big Tolkien fans and things like that, but yet that's the number one jump off point.
You know, I remember, I mean, I know, Bear, you're a comic guy, and Shadow, you're a comic guy. Could you ever imagine us sitting in the early 80s reading the Avengers or Justice League or any of that shit, thinking that there would be an actual movie of the fucking Avengers?
Of course we could.
I never would have ever expected anything like that.
Wait, what was that? I'm sorry, I was reading.
All the movies up to that point were like really bad.
Wait, can you restate that? Because I was reading a new comment.
No, just like, you know, us being in the early 80s, you know, reading comics or whatever, late 70s or whatever, imagining that there'd be these blockbuster like Avengers movies.
I want to say I always hoped for it. You know what I mean? I knew.
Well, there was Superman in the late 70s.
But I'm talking about like, you know, 10 dudes, like 10 people, like in a team type of thing. You know, we had those little spatterings of comic book, you know, movies, but they weren't all that great, or TV series or shows or something like that. But
well, for me, Avengers was like my go-to comic as like an 8 to 10-year-old kid. So that was my, you know, these are my guys, you know. And I remember when they had like the Daredevil movie, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Captain America, and I'm like, just put them all in the same movie, you know.
Yeah, but they never did.
Well, they did, and you know,
they did. There was never an Avengers movie. Ever.
Ever?
Well, you know what? Growing up with it was kind of the thing of and maybe this was me watching a lot of Japanese cartoons. I was like, why don't they just do cartoons of this? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That's
They
a
did.
lot
It was
more
called
fun.
the Super Friends.
Yeah. Okay. The Super Friends. Yeah. The League of Super
But I mean, you know, we had some of that. That's why when I thought Fire and Ice came out and they had blood, I'm like, this is the coolest movie ever. It has blood.
Did Fire and Ice have blood? I think it was pretty tamed, actually, blood-wise.
It was kind of. It's funny though. I have talked to like half a dozen people in the last week who've all recently, within the last month, went back and watched Fire and Ice.
It's free on YouTube if you guys.
Yeah, it is.
It.
Mm-hmm.
It's well, no, I mean, I remember
maybe that's why.
I think, you know, growing up and I'm watching the Japanese stuff, whether it was Star Blazers or some of the other stuff back there, you know, it was kind of a thing of, I never thought that they would bring it onto the live action screen. I'll be honest, I kind of wish they wouldn't. I like the cartoons better than I do the live action stuff myself, because like going up to the point of even Avatar is so computer animated, it looks like a cartoon nowadays anyway. So
you talking about animated movies, Star Chaser. Have you guys seen that?
Legend of Orin? I love that fucking movie.
That's
Never
a
heard
great
of it.
flick. Oh man, it's fantastic. Yeah, watch it.
And let's be
Write it
honest.
down. Hold on.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Star
guys.
I was watching Godzilla and stuff like that. I'm like, well, that's what's good. Ultraman. Come on, I grew up in all this stuff with, the 1970s. So to imagine it wasn't there. I just wish that they had better writing, I guess, was the big thing. But I loved that stuff as a kid.
I think we all must have enjoyed a bit of it, which brings me to my next question. I'm going to start with you, Brian, and go counterclockwise. What is it about aliens you like the most? The idea of alien races or species or things in your games?
So like in my personal games, I have the belief, my personal belief, the only reasons aliens would ever be here is not in a good thing for humanity. So aliens are always a bad guy. Always a bad guy. So they're usually some sort of force to overcome, some sort of enemy to defeat. So they would just make the best, the best bad guy, because you can make them in any way that you want. They can represent any kind of ideology, any kind of technology level, any kind of superpowers. You don't have to get too heavy in the minutia of the whys, because they're alien. They just are. So they're a pretty easy device to add to any game for some sort of powered bad guy. But yep, that's what I use my aliens for.
How about you, Jackie? What's so attractive or enjoyable about using aliens? Because I know you use a lot of that in your stories. What drew you to it?
It's funny you use that word. It's specifically because they're easier to draw. For a long time, I could not draw a human to save my life. It was always a stick figure or like a monkey, and that's how it would look like. But aliens and animals, I could draw. I mean, I was like 5, so it still looked bad, but it was a lot easier. And I, at the time, thought it looked good. It didn't, but I thought so. And it was because of that I just made all of my characters alien. So nowadays that I'm still using, albeit completely unrecognizable from what they originally were, similar ideas and similar characters to things I created years ago, they just are still aliens. And because of my interest in insects and other stuff like that, I've just leaned into them being aliens even more than I did back then.
Very cool.
And believe it or not, he can actually draw pretty good humans. He's got his own style. It's
well, I mean, now I can draw humans, but back in the day, I couldn't.
And as you see or have seen, and if you've gone over to our Discord,
all those drawings you posted there are from 3 years ago, and they all suck.
We'll post some more.
You'll get better over time.
Did you post the Halloween ones?
I think I did, but
Because those are
you'll
the
have
only good ones that I have made in a long time.
Thanks, Derek. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. Derek's a friend of ours from uh, Nathan's channel and a couple other places out there, but he's also a gamer, which is one of the things I want to talk about in a minute. But how about you, Bear? What is it about aliens that's so attractive?
I don't know if there's anything in particular that's attractive about them. I mean, the whole point of aliens in
fun?
science fiction is meant to provide a reflection of a human thing for the human observer to see and get a morality lesson or a warning or something about themselves, but seeing it through an alien eye, right? Which leads to this trope called Planet of the Hats, where all the species are one way, speak one language, look one way. So that's where the alien is beneficial to us from a storytelling point of view, in that we can just say, hey, I'm white on the right side and he's white on the wrong side. And we look at that and go, that's silly, but it's actually a very important lesson about how the pointless differences we put in ourselves as a species can lead to a very bad place. And that's what Star Trek was so good at doing. Otherwise, you wind up in the Marvel or DC world of aliens, where it's you either fuck them or you fight them. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're there for. And it's just sort of sad, because they should be more than that. They should always be trying to give us insight into the human condition. If that makes sense. Otherwise, I like tentacles. They're cool.
And I like the first answer.
I like bug.
I like bug. Nerds?
So I don't think my answer's going to be as good as that one, getting all philosophical and understanding the media and whatnot.
Sorry.
But I like sci-fi more than fantasy as a setting. I like that it feels at me somewhat grounded, even if only superficially. And who's a natural enemy out there besides the environment itself and other humans, right? You want to spice it up, you bring in the aliens. And I like the diversity that you can apply to them, right? An alien can be a wild animal that acts purely on instinct. It can be some hyper intelligent being. It can be a entity beyond our understanding, lives in a different plane of existence, right? And it's always unknown, right? You're exploring, discovering new things. It's that unknown element that I think I really like. Whereas, hey, we're gonna go in a fantasy adventure, we're gonna fight monsters. It's either a known monster or it's just monster, and it doesn't really matter what it is, right? Whereas the alien, the morphology, the history, all of that has significance.
So far, your answer is the closest to mine, but I'm going to let Owen go before I spout out mine.
So for me, the whole point of aliens is the wonderment and excitement of the universe. And to go out and to keep finding more of us, which is part of the reason that I got turned off with Star Trek, is it's like, I'm not looking for more of myself. I'm looking for the wonders and differences out in the world. It's just like whenever you go to, whether it's D&D or anything else, you go out and say, wow, I get to see a whole new world. I get to see this. And then from my scientific brain, I want to figure out how animals adapt and survive in different environments. And while a lot of times, like Brian's talking about, is that they're used for, they're used as opponents and things like that. I also look at it as, in many cases, if you're not competing in the same ecosystem kind of thing, then you tend to get a lot less conflict. And then you say, well, you can do this and I can do this, and then you can go through it. And I also like the idea of, this is why I love Star Frontiers when I first read it. Oh, look, this creature can't do X. This creature can't do Y. This is its special ability. I love the Draelicite from the fact of, oh, it can change shape. Well, some of your form and function determines on how you think. The fact that we use a base 10 system is because we have 10 fingers. We don't think about it, but that's part of the aspect to it, is you're like, oh, whereas if you had 12, you'd be on the base 12 system probably, as far as your math. I mean, just little things that we don't think about. Just like I'm changing my color of my lights up here as I go through. Well, all of a sudden, how do you see different worlds? And that's one of the things I loved when I was doing. Well, I tinkered in it, was, well, how do I change light? How does that change in how people see? If you see black and white, another person sees color, and then another one sees an infrared, another one sees an ultraviolet, that affects on how you see and interact with the world. What happens when you don't have taste? Well, taste, it can do this. And then you start thinking, well, how would they communicate? How would they do this? And for me, it's as much a mental exercise as anything else. And that's what I find kind of exciting about playing aliens or things like that. Is there's something different in the world. That's one of the reasons I really did enjoy not Starship Troopers. Oh, look, now admittedly they're opponents, but look, we have a case system of bugs in the universe, and they have brain bugs, and they have queen bugs, and they have all these other things out there. And you're like, oh, okay, well, how would we deal with it? How would they deal with us? And it causes both conflict, miscommunication, and symbiosis in certain cases. And that's what I love about it. That's why I love sci-fi from that aspect, rather than just like the typical D&D is a good versus evil. It is a cosmological battle. You don't get that in space as much. So that's my answer.
How many lists are we now on for having participated in that thing he just said? Like, like if we were thinking the FBI wasn't already watching your stream, Shadow, like now he's talked about. I'm really interested. What would happen? What would you be like if you had no taste? Oh Jesus, no! Don't go down that road, Dr. Mengele.
So
no,
for me,
you're right. You like the absurdity. That's really cool, man. There's nothing wrong with that. That's interesting. That's philosophical.
For me, I can really sum it up simply. It's the endless possibilities. When you have like your D&D worlds, you have a whole lot of constraints. You have to deal with the oxygen atmosphere, the weather, all these identical situations and environments that are basically Earth. You never get to go outside that Earth-like bubble. But with science fiction and aliens and space and all that, you've got literally an infinite number of possibilities to look at and explore, and you'll still never reach them all. You'll never be done. You'll never be tired.
I'm going to bring this up though, and this is kind of what's going on. Constraints cause creativity. By putting in constraints, which is part of the reason I like with the aliens, is all of a sudden if you're not just putting on a different hat, saying, "Oh, I just look different," it really changes your perspective. If all of a sudden, how do I hear? How do I see? That's kind of what I enjoy from that.
Well, yeah, but I see. I will get to that point when some weird new idea comes at me, for like an alien race. I'll go with the inspiration for it first, and then I'll flesh it out, round it out with what it can and can't do. I'm not just going to make them all powerful. That's boring. And every alien trope we've ever come across in all the different forms of entertainment, they've always got that Achilles heel, just like we do. We actually have quite a few of them, but there's always that one weakness for the alien, so that the good guys can prevail if that is in fact the scenario. So it's not like I'm going to make just stereotypical perfect beings like we've seen in a lot of other TVs and movies and even novels out there. So Omen, favorite alien of all time, what is it and why?
I'm just going to say the Dreadnoughts. I just love them, how they were described in Star Frontiers. I love the fact that they could change shape. They had a great sense of humor. It just seemed like, how can you not love them? That was the reason I liked the Dreadnought site. I'm sure there's other ones out there I love. I always love insects. I love a lot of different stuff, but those are my favorite that I've seen in general RPGs and what's presented.
How about you, nerds?
Xenomorph, easy.
Okay, why?
Because it's a Disney princess. The queen is a Disney princess.
Oh my God, that's next.
Sorry,
princess.
No, seriously, nerds, why?
So, to be completely honest, my selection is a little more narrow than probably most of yours. I'm relatively new to sci-fi. I've not seen many of the great sci-fi shows out there. I've started down that list, but I mean, I've not watched Star Trek, right? So I am beginners here. But the xenomorph design and the way, I don't know, there's something about it that it was like a physical embodiment of the horror of space, the isolation, the unknown, and the futility of life. Like it's inevitable, it's coming for you, and it was in a very visceral, real reaction, and I just love the design.
Oh, as far as those, I still love Alien. I do. I think they're great. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought the RPG.
So how about you, Bear?
Probably the space jockey, not the engineers from the new movies, but the space jockey from Alien.
Oh, with the elephant thing. Oh,
But
yeah.
what is it? That an elephant thing? What is he? We don't know. There's nothing but possibility on this giant creature that's chest got blown out. Right? We know nothing about them. We have no idea who they are. So they're a blank slate that we can project whatever we want upon them. And I like that. I like that possibility. As stories evolve and more mysteries get solved and quantified, I lose more and more interest in that because it's just not.
Your mic will cut out there.
I just like creative freedom. That's all I'm saying. So Space Jockey works for me because he's an
interesting story. When I was what year did Alien come out?
1979.
79. So when I was 12, one of my dad's best friends was a big sci-fi nerd and worked in the sci-fi model building, whatever the association was, that actually worked in Hollywood and built all the the famous starships and models in sci-fi movies. I got to hang out with him because my dad was totally not into sci-fi like that. He turned me on to the classics, Planet of the Apes, Silent Running, Soylent Green. You guys heard me talk about those. But I got to go to this, several of these meetings where they would get together and show off their work and, show some behind the scenes things. And I got to see the space jockey that you're talking about, the face hugger, Dark Star, the ship, the dry dock for the first Star Trek movie, and got to find out all kinds of little, secrets, how they built the models and stuff like that. Sadly, he passed away not long after I got to start doing that sort of thing. And I remember seeing the space jockey for the first time, going home and telling my friends, about what I had seen, and they're like, you're full of crap, And sure enough, I think it was a year or two later, it came out in the behind the scenes VHS, I think. I'm like, see, I told you, there it is. And that always made me wonder, about all the things that we never get to see when it comes to these great, franchises and whatnot, how much more there is on the cutting room floor and lore that we'll, never get to know. And I think that's one of the things that drew me into sci-fi gaming so much, is that there's it seems to me that it's a more robust genre than fantasy. Fantasy to me always had so many limits. Even when I went as gonzo as I could, there were always these limits, and I think that's why I'm going to always be more of a sci-fi guy.
Oh yeah, you're extremely limited by the basically medieval setting and the fact that you can't really create new monsters unless you're just like making a chimera of other things that already exist without it just not feeling right. And not most people will be like, what is that? But if it's a sci-fi scenario, who cares? You're supposed to make up your own stuff.
I still think that, again, limitations generate creativity in there. And I think that's part of what I'm not saying I don't like going out there, but part of the reason I do like space is you can make every world different and it's unique and special. And you can do that in D&D and stuff if you're doing if you're gating through other places. But I always felt that there was that tension. And part of the reason I also like sci-fi is I don't have to have the super powerful characters doing things. It's, that you can go. Your characters don't have to gain much more in power, but they gain more in knowledge and understanding and things like that. That's kind of what I liked about that.
I like that. That's one of the things I do like about sci-fi gaming is that most characters in a good sci-fi story are more relatable. We can picture ourselves, in those roles easier than we can with most other genres.
I'm going to mention one thing though that bothers me, and I know you and I, those of us that grew up in the '70s, but now I look at how things have really turned in the last 20 years or so. So much has become more dystopian about sci-fi rather than being aspirational and fun. And that's part of what I do miss about a lot of science fiction games is I like the pulp aspect of going out, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and having it much more fun than everything just being depressing and the world's against you. And, the dystopian's great sometimes, and I do like dystopian, but this is part of the reason I like to shift games around because I want to have the aspirational, oh, we're cool, the world is getting better, we're making the world a better place and aspect to science fiction as well. And that's part of the reason I do like having a lot of different aliens. And I don't want to say like the Star Trek aspect, but to say, to be fair, if you got a crystal creature and then you have an organic creature, they're tending not to compete for the same resources as much. So they could work from that aspect, but they're going to see things from a completely different viewpoint. And then say, okay, well, let's see what's out there. Oh, look, we got a whole new thing that's an energy creature. Well, we're not familiar with this. So that's part of the reason I like sci-fi as well. For that aspect is the old cult style sci-fi.
I was weaned on a steady diet of dystopian, Soylent Green, Silent Running, Rollerball, Logan's Run, and it wasn't until later that I actually went even further back with the Buck Rogers, the Flash Gordon, things like that. I need to get more of that in my diet. So Jackson,
Vice Burrows, yeah.
Favorite alien? Do you have one?
I absolutely do. It's just a question of which one. There are two aliens that I like the most. There is one which I just genuinely think is the most interesting I've seen come out of anything, especially recently. And then there's the one which has had a vast amount of influence on basically everything I've done ever since I first saw it. And considering I'm thinking of dedicating basically an entire show to the first one, which we'll talk about that later in the Discord maybe. But I'm going to go with the Geonosians. Why? They're bugs. That's basically, they're bugs. They live on a planet that's mostly red. And when I was like 7 watching Attack of the Clones, which is the best Star Wars movie, by the way, arguably the best movie since Xenophobia, they were the coolest thing ever. Like, I've always liked them. Plus, the way they're Geonosian starfighters are the coolest ship design in all of Star Wars. Did I mention they're bugs? That too. I really liked that about them.
So, Jack, how do you feel about District 9's bugs?
I haven't seen District 9.
Oh, dude. You need to watch District 9, dude.
Yeah, just curious. I wasn't sure because I like District 9's insects as well. That's why I was just curious.
Yeah, it's just they're not the most in-depth. They're basically just another hive mind that has like an importance to the Star Wars lore or whatever. But it's just I first saw them, I fell in love with them at like 7. I've always liked their design, even though now looking at them, they were kind of goofy. I saw the movies like, whoa, bugs, that's cool. I played Battlefront 2, and it's like, whoa, you can play as the bug. Isn't that super cool? And that's all oh, you can fly around in the super cool. And now, like, that's how basically and maybe I'm a Mothra or something, is what started my interest in bugs to begin with. And it's what the inspiration for arguably the most important species and family and everything in my story comes from them. So to say that it's my favorite alien race is anything but the Geonosians would just be a disservice.
Nice. But then again, I kind of knew most of this. I've been your dad for most of your life, so.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, last time, I completely forgot because I was so enthusiastic about saying I like Bug. You said that we were gonna go counterclockwise, and then you went clockwise, and now we're going counterclockwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Proof
just
there's a
mix
clock
it up.
right there.
I like to mix it up so that.
No, I mean like you said we're gonna go counterclockwise, and then you proceeded to go clockwise.
Did I?
Yeah, that means you're lying.
I hate to leave on this gripping debate of clock direction, but it's late. I got to go to bed, guys. So I'm.
All right, take care, Bear.
Okay,
It
goodbye.
was good having you here. Feel
See
free
you,
to
Bear.
pop in anytime, man.
Thanks for letting me play. Bye.
Take care.
Ade. Anyways,
Yeah,
I
can see
can't
he was
believe
getting
you've done this.
I didn't
dare
mean to get everyone going for District 9. Part of what I like about sci-fi is it makes you think and of what's possible, and to me that's part of the reason I like to watch it. Whereas I agree with the with the fantasy is you're boxed in to kind of your Middle Ages or whatever, and if you get outside of that, it just feels weird. Of course, you get Kroll, which is all over the place, but
he needs to see that one as well. That's a good one. Or did you see that one with us?
He saw Kroll, didn't
So
you?
I also need to drop off, but
Oh.
great chat with y'all. Yeah, I'll see
No
you next time.
problem. No problem.
See you,
We're only gonna be here another 30 minutes or so. Take care, nerds. Have a great weekend. So Brian, favorite alien? What is it and why?
The Chigs from Starship Troopers.
They are
from the movie or from the book?
No, not Starship Troopers. Excuse me. Space Above and Beyond.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That was a great series. Just once again, one of those great things that got cut and killed way before it should have.
It's and from the limited exposure that you have about their their history and all that shit, they're a dying race, and then you have this spacefaring human creature infringing on their own empire, and they're fighting with everything they have against it, and they're as cunning and as skillful and devout and human as humans are, and they're not afraid. They're not afraid to fight back. They're not like superhuman. When they defeat humanity, it's because of their own tactics and their own skills. It's not because they're ultra advanced or superior. They're just like good. It's like a worthy adversary.
Yeah, it was like I said. Every once in a while, someone will bring that series up. It's so hard to find, and so worth having it.
I got the DVDs for it.
Yeah, a buddy of mine had the DVD set, and another one of my friends was just a total jackass and either lost or tossed the last disc.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's just like, what? Come on, how do you lose a DVD? It's by the DVD player. There's no reason for it to be anywhere else.
I'm missing a DVD for one of mine. Fortunately, I have the Blu-ray version, but I was like, what the hell? How did it go missing? So
it's probably in like a different case or something.
Yeah, I know. That's where you really lose. Is you lose by putting it in a different case because you're lazy.
Yeah, I know they're not my favorite, but they weren't really mentioned much. The Vorlons and the Shadows from Babylon 5, I absolutely love them. I just didn't like the way they ended up. For so long, they were just in that series. They were just so out there and mysterious, and I love that about them. And then when you get to the end, it's kind of anticlimactic, at least in my opinion.
One of the big things about there was a lot of I like the xenomorphs, and the predators and all that shit was cool. But what happens is that the wonder is lost as the IP gets taken up and it's just beaten to death. It's like, we know everything about the predators now. They're come from this clan society, and there's blah 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 on this, and then they're all of a sudden they're with the aliens. They deal with the aliens, and then now the xenomorphs are all this bullshit. It's just like they're not alien anymore.
Well, you know what though?
They're not an alien anymore.
Well, there's, I was looking at the Dark Horse comics when they talk about it, and I'm like, some of them were really cool and good about it, but I agree with you. It's overdone, or they start trying to make this loop where you go, I kind of like them better when they were just aliens, not that when they're like, oh, this is, we're going to bring in the Prometheans, we're going to do this, and just it's like, you know what? Step back.
Leave something to the imagination.
Yeah, well,
it's just like it's
part
like the
of the
Borg.
horror of it is not knowing.
The Borg,
or they don't act in a way you expect.
The Borg was my favorite alien until they just fucking Borged it to death. The Borg was this insane thing that was just completely, we're fucked. We just happened to, win that battle, and we know they're out there and they're coming.
Right. When I was watching Next Gen, it was at that point in the series that my friends were on the edge of our seats.
Yeah.
During every commercial, someone would be calling the other guy, oh my God, did you see it? It was just like, just so exciting because, especially in Star Trek, we, the heroes, whatever, we started getting our asses handed to us. It's something we had never seen over the course of, what was it, like around year 5. So, after, 7+ years of Star Trek, we finally, got our nose a little bit more than bloodied. And that was what was, so exciting, is that, there was this huge, seemingly insurmountable challenge. I think we need that sort of thing to make a really good story for some reason. Whether it's Independence Day, Star Trek, Babylon 5 did that.
But see, I didn't mind Babylon 5 for some of it, is you understood where the Vorlons, the Shadows came, which made it a lot more interesting in that. That
was a political show.
It was a philosophical show. It's more than political. But see, I didn't mind the philosophical aspect. What I didn't like about the Borg is when you started making them more human rather than keeping them alien. Because part of the alien, and again, when we're talking about this, when you have things that think completely differently and you can't rationalize, you can't negotiate, you can't do that. That's what makes some of these things scary. That's why we still view insects as scary. You can't negotiate with ants. You can't negotiate. That's, even though they're familiar and they're around us all the time. Well, same reason that people are afraid of spiders in certain cases. They don't act like we do. They're proper monsters.
And I think sci-fi does a big disservice in a lot of storytelling, is because a lot of it comes down to, we can overcome this challenge because this alien, we can overcome it. We just phase frequencies and whatever fucking bullshit. And it's just like, look, there's a time when you ain't gonna be able to do anything. There's nothing you can do, and you're fucked.
Well, except
that was like the Borg was. You tried everything you could possibly do, and they just wiped you.
Well, see, the problem that I had is at a certain point you just run, but it's when they started doing but it's when they started making the Borg. Again, Borg were not my favorite in the whole thing, but they started making the Borg have emotions and stuff like that. That's when it got lost on me. It's really
and then there was like a
queen or something
within the Borg. They were having all that.
Or shit. when they brought in Hugh, and they were trying to make all nice, and that's why I like Enterprise so much. Is there was that constant feeling of, things can go bad real quick, which is the way it would be. You're out there in space. Space wants you dead. More so than Mother Nature ever did, or it's just the next phase of Mother Nature.
I watched Jeremiah Johnson last week, right? The Mountain Man movie. Yeah, Jeremiah. You've never seen Jeremiah Johnson? What the fuck, dude?
I've heard of Jeremiah Jones.
Anyway, Robert Redford. Anyway, he's like a mountain man, like in the late 1800s, and they're living up in the Rockies or whatever. And he stumbles across like the Crow, and they're like, he's with another mountain man, and he's like, "Don't do anything. They got us. It's up to them to decide what happens." You know what I mean? And you can say, here, take my pelts, take this. But, it's completely up to the alien to decide if he just destroys you there on the spot or just takes what he wants and then leaves, right? And you learn from that mistake, and then, or you learn from that, and next time you run into him, maybe you can do the same thing, or you form a bond or whatever. But a lot of times, we need to be kind of like,
You mean not being the bad American tourist out in
like, well, we're the biggest guns and we can figure out anything. No, sometimes it's up to the alien to just decide if they're not going to do anything or if they're going to do something. So
my favorite line in the Babylon 5 movie is when they were talking about the Minbari and we can just brush them aside. He says, stupidity and arrogance, how in the same package, how convenient, And then the part of, well, we're showing them our gun ports so we can do this, and they misconstrue it, and that starts the whole Minbari war. Those are things that I kind of, I like about that. I also like it when, and this is what I always love about sci-fi games, is I want that at the edge of the universe where the two empires are close, but there's that gap, and that's where the players are going in. They're not doing the big political. They're not in the center of the galaxy. It's that fringe aspect where they can interact and trade, or they can fight.
It's like the Romulans and the Federation, like in the original series, right?
Yeah.
The Balance of Terror. They'd never even seen what a Romulan looks like. They had a war with him, but they'd never even seen him. You know what they look like. And that it's that wonder, and it's that fear and that horror of the alien that's so cool, right? But when you start to befriend it, and then you're like, oh, let's team up, and it's just like, it just loses that wonder.
Well, I even enjoyed the old Klingons where they went through. Now, I do admit that during the Next Generation they started making it, but I kind of liked where they didn't like each other. But I got so tired of like, oh, well, you're half and half, which I'm getting tired of half races everywhere. Yeah. You're half and half. I'm like, look,
you're the chosen. It's like, oh, you're the transition that helps with the rest of the societies, the transition to the peace or whatever the fuck.
But I mean, part of the that's why I said is I like crystal creatures or things that are completely like, you're not going to be breeding with each other, okay? That's just not going to happen. And then you're going to have to say, okay, how does this work? The Drelosite and the Vrust can be friends on the ship in Star Frontiers, but they're not going to have babies. They're not going to have any of these other things. It's they respect each other because of their differences as much as anything else. And guess what? You go home and you go over here.
Hey James, how's it going, brother?
I can see interspecies breeding when it comes to like humanoid type creatures. I mean, the Klingons are not that far off from humanity. So I can see, but if you're talking about the Shadow,
Star Trek thing. But that's a Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
And what I'm referring to is I get tired of it because that's part of the reason I like the alien races. Is like a Rusk and a Drelosite, if you're familiar with them. One's an insect creature, the other's an amoeba creature. They're going to have different families. They're going to have the whole thing, and they may not compete, but it's the kind of thing of like your family's going to be over here and your family's going to be here, and they act differently. They have different family structures. And it makes it interesting to learn that culture as well. How does this culture develop? A perfect example is the Green Martians and how they treat versus the Red Martians and then the humans.
John Carter.
Yeah, with Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's how do they think? Oh, well, they're 4-armed monsters that are up the. Oh, cool.
But then there's times when they do interact together in peace and camaraderie and whatnot. But I mean, I can see interspecies.
It's a mutual respect.
Species are similar. You're not gonna I don't think Shadow's gonna fall in love with Amoeba. I mean, he might like her or respect it, as a crew member and a brave warrior or a friend or something like that. But I don't know if, just the difference. It's so alien that it's incompatible.
Let's all remember growing up as kids and watching the Herculoids.
The Herculoids.
Or the new Shmoo.
Yeah, it's those are, but that's part of the excitement, I think, for the whole thing is that, and as much as we talk about fantasy and sci-fi, if you go back into the earlier 1900s, they didn't view it as any different. They were one and the same.
It's true. It's true. Like to intermingle with native tribes or the different classes and social. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but I think that's always that was actually part of the fun of until I started doing the war falling in love with so and so, and I got sick of that. But
how many girlfriends he had? Troy, he had the amoeba or the parasite chick.
Yes, I don't no, but what I'm saying is, but the way that they did the Klingons, where they gave them different foods they ate, different culture, different honor system. You're like, oh, you have to go learn this, which is, that's what, that's part of what I think the fun is of this stuff. It's like, oh, it's a completely different culture. They think differently. They see things differently. They feel differently.
That's one of the things I never bought with Next Generation is like the integration of like Klingons into Starfleet. I don't see the Klingon culture doing that. They might work with Starfleet, but they're not going to share each other's like ships and shit. I don't see that happening at all. Remember when Riker went and did like a captain exchange where he went to a Klingon ship?
But I kind of enjoyed that one.
I get it. Yeah. Maybe in a very limited capacity, but there's no way that there's going to be a Klingon integration with. And then and again, it's like, why couldn't the Federation? I mean, I understand it's a utopian kind of idea, but I mean, I could see like the Andorrans. Why would the Andorrans be on Starfleet's vessels? Why wouldn't Andorran vessels just work with Starfleet, right? And side by side, not interdoing it together. I don't know.
And that's part of what I like the differences. That's part of the reason I love Aliens. I want them to be different, and I mean really different. I don't want them to be skin suit different. That's part of the thing I want. It's like just like this one in 3 since I like 2300. Different ships, different sizes. That's. We may not think of it, but
elves created man. No, they didn't.
Well, they're all talking about, but I'm saying
no.
If we're going back to the old fairy tales, they talk about elves. They always talked about changelings, where the elves would come in and steal the baby and put in one of their own. There's a lot of stories for that aspect. So that's why when they talk about,
I'm not real. I never went into, I'll believe it or not, a lot of Earth mythology and whatnot. I always, it just never grabbed me. I do have one last question before we go, though.
Okay.
Could any of you guys run an all alien game, and if so, how would you do it? Would it be mostly alien mixed with some humans? Could you do the full alien? Just alien story like I was talking about. Jackie, you there?
No, I'm not here.
Okay, I'm gonna go with you first because I know you gotta go do something shortly. So how about it? Could you do it? Are you doing it? How would you do it?
Well, wow. Well, I could, and I mean, I'm a big believer when it comes to this sort of thing.
Closer to the mic.
I'm a big believer in representing demographics accurately. So, for example, if you were to run in a universe where, like, in my example, where humans are only 1% of like the total galactic population, the chance that there would be humans is rare. So, of course, I up it so that you can have more humans. Is my mouth close enough to the mic, by the way?
Yeah,
a little too close. You can move back about 1 inch.
We can smell that garlic too.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit, yeah. You just have to project more.
He's a smarty pants, ain't he?
Yeah, I am.
He's 15.
He look. You come on. All 14-year-olds once they're teenagers until they get to their 20s, it's not going to stop.
It's true.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
Hard to believe he's going to be 16 in just a few short months.
Driving,
Oh, wow.
cruising the boulevard, picking up the chicks, go to the movies.
You know what? I got to give my son a hardship something. He'll have to talk to his mom about that, but I think he can get a hardship license.
Well, yeah. Anyways,
Being your son would be a hardship.
yeah.
So tell us about it a little more, Jack, before you hit the road.
Well, I would have it so that the way I always kind of have it is that humans exist, they do things, but they're not only relegated to a small, isolated community, they basically don't exist in the wider galaxy. There might be some, and there is like a couple of prominent ones, but they're not that common. It's like a very small percentage of the population until you get closer to like the human region of space, like the small human kingdom that exists out in space. The closer you get to there, sure, there might be more of them, but still. So the majority of it would just be different kinds of aliens. And in the scenario that I would most likely run, because there's different eras of the timeline, some of them would be more diverse than others, and some would be like specifically only this race, and that's it. Others would be, oh, they're all together, whatever, progressive, not whatever. The amount of diversity would range a lot. So what I would do is, if I were to be running a game, which I probably won't, maybe, who knows, I would just have all the races and be like, here, pick one. I would rather you don't all pick humans, and I'd hope that they wouldn't, because it's just a big list of races and pick one. Because that would probably be the most accurate way of doing it without just like randomly picking. But then when it comes to actually writing the story, I like adding different kinds of aliens and having certain ones have more prominence than others and stuff like that. In a realistic way that actually makes sense, instead of just be like, here, have 70 billion different kinds of aliens that are just like humans with different face paint so that it looks diverse.
Oh, Star Trek, thanks.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the common trope, it's like, let's just change them. They look a little different, but they emulate some human society or characteristic from time or whatever. It's just
because a lot of like, especially, I'm not sure if this is a particularly modern thing, but I just see it's like, oh, we have our like peaceful space society, so it just let's put a bunch of makeup and prosthetics on people so it looks diverse because peace and all these different aliens getting together. I do think that's a little
it sounds
dumb.
great, and that would be cool if that was possible. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't know. Maybe I'm a pessimist.
It just kind of bothers me whenever I see it. It's a trope that I'm kind of annoyed with. I don't know why.
You're not alone. We've all wanted to see, the most alien of aliens that Hollywood could provide us with, and all we get are rubber appliances. Yeah, there you go. And we know they can do better. They just, for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's like, okay, the way it works is, if it's a peaceful alien, it's a human with blue skin. If it is a violent alien, it's a bug. If it's somewhere in between, it's a lizard.
It's true, though. I mean, it's just like, but unfortunately, the originality when it comes to aliens in sci-fi usually has to do with like philosophical or how they relate to the human condition kind of shit, which is fine. I'm not above that. There's some great writings for that stuff, but it's just that becomes a trope in itself. It's like Bear was saying, aliens become a reflection of like what humanity is against that kind of setting or whatever it is. But I mean, that's done in like tons of shit. I mean, it's
not unique. It's the problem. It's and I'm not saying you can't have it, because I noticed when I was a kid, oh man, if you could have just an alien versus predator, and the problem is that you still have to relate to the characters in the story. So it's a cool idea. Comes into there, and I'm going to bring this up when Shadow's talking about this, and this is what I kind of would like to do. One is I like to try the system, but there's Twilight Imperium. It's got energy, it's got fire, it's got ones that are biomechanical, it's got some that, and the aliens do not look the same. Some of them have to wear
on my list, brother. It's on my list.
It's am I going to say this is my favorite? This is, if you like the Star Wars Genesis system, I would like to try it just because I like to try the system out. But I like the fact that they've given things, and part of it is the aliens are part of a kind of like a UN thing, but there's tension among all of the races. You know, that's the thing that I like is just because your characters are getting along doesn't mean there isn't tension between all the different races, and they're all looking at each other, and they're on the, what I want to say, the cusp of war. And so now you're on going, all right, you know, what are we going to do? And I know Shadow has Twilight Imperium above his head somewhere. But
it's right above his head, yeah.
Yeah. He has, but he's never played it. But you know, okay, guys,
doesn't it take
just
like
because
8
we're going
hours
to do
to
it,
play though?
What's that?
And 8 people.
Yeah, well, I think you need at least 6. It's 4 to you know, at least you need that. But and there need to be multiple ways. Guess what? Sometimes you can unite everyone and they'll get together. Other times it's just complete, you know, genocide. And you know, so when you get those tensions in there,
I'm interested.
Yeah, when we get to Texas, brother. Don't
start any
we got 4
genocides in
players
Texas,
right here.
though.
4
Okay, hold
players.
on.
I can't count.
Yeah, can't we just do it online?
What?
You need like at least 2 different sets, you know, and lots of cameras.
It's yeah, but I mean, I would love to play it at some point, but you know, it's one of those games you have to pull out. I hear that there's another, but you know, those are the things that I want. Is I want those interstellar political conflicts. I want those interstellar actual conflicts. And I like the players to work in that gray zone in between. And the fact that the players, or I said players, the characters are of different races working together is an anomaly. It's showing what could happen in my utopian aspect rather than what will happen. And I think that's
comments on here.
Yeah. So that's the thanks,
so that's your answer to the question.
Which part?
Was that your answer to the question? Omen?
I would play this because I think it works out pretty well. I think that it has everything you'd want. I don't know how the system really works. I like the idea of the system, but I haven't played it. But I would love to do that, you know, if we could.
Sounds pretty cool. Something I've been wanting to try out for a long, long time.
And it may fail. You know, some of the things I look at, I'm like, you know, but I always change things around. That's one of the things, you know. That's,
hey, TCG, what's up, bud?
You know, I always change my settings to match more of what I like. And sometimes I'm not against all pure humans, but part of the love of sci-fi is I want to go out and explore. I want to see new things. I want to, you know, the whole idea of when he goes, you know, the 5-year mission going out there. Yeah, I want to go out there and
love
adventure.
That was my favorite thing about it.
Yeah.
You know, was to go out and see this stuff. There's literally no limits to your imagination when it comes to sci-fi, whereas fantasy, there's a lot.
I'm gonna put it differently. The problem with fantasy isn't that. The problem is like I think fantasy works the same way, but that's the whole thing of what's beyond the ocean. You know, here be dragons. You know, when you go out there and you get to see it, and you're supposed to see these different wonderful things out there and hear stories. But the problem that I have with it is most of the time it just, well, especially now, they aren't willing to do that really cool stuff, and it just feels more of
let's come up with some metaphysical fucking human introvert whatever the fuck, and then because it's cheaper to write drama than it is to show drama.
Well, we're talking TV shows, but we're talking big books. There's no excuse. We're talking RPGs. In RPGs, that's part of we've always got these cool things out there. But the problem that I'm having now in the modern era is everyone's like, well, they're speciest and they're blah blah blah, and you don't want to do this, and you're making this group look bad, and going, yeah, you know what you're doing? You're making it a bland, homogenized world that no one wants to adventure in.
Look at the diversity of humanity.
Yes,
the fact that
the four of us.
The fact that Central America exists as a
all
place.
sorts of shit.
Well, they do, but now watch it. Oh, you're culturally appropriating. You're doing this. They're doing as much as they can to literally erase as much diversity and uniqueness in the universe as possible.
It's almost like they want to turn us into the Greys.
No, what it is like
it's almost like they want to
realize
turn us like the future people from South Park.
Exactly what they're fighting against. It's like, no, you got to accept this. No, I don't fucking like. You don't have to either. I don't have to. Agree with your lifestyle. Just like you don't have to agree with mine. And you're fighting me, trying to make me into you. What the fuck? What's the difference of me and you thinking I'm trying to make you into me? It's like, what the fuck? You're doing the exact same thing you hate.
I'm going to bring this up because when Brian and I are playing, like, the game, he put out the characters, like, what do you want to play? I'm like, I want to play the weirdest looking crap. And I'm like, the pygmies are awesome, man. Look at them. They're just like the cutest, like, but that's part of what's fun is if you go through and like, well, you know what? They represent these badly. And I'm like, you know what, though, is I will play the pygmies to death. And they're my favorite group whenever I go over to Brian's house to play. Like, we are going to take these out. And, and it was the same thing with Oriental Adventures. I loved Oriental Adventures when it came out because it wasn't another European clone. I loved Mastika when it came out. It wasn't another European clone.
Yeah, I'm going to have to read that one. But
but Europe is pretty cool.
I'm not saying Europe isn't cool, but the problem is that Europe's overdone. And we always do Western France, maybe Germany, Europe, and England. I want to do Eastern Europe with the Russians and the stuff like that, which they don't do as much. And I want to do when they did Al-Qadim, hey, we're going to do the Ottoman Empire.
That one was surprisingly one of my favorites of all the things I've reviewed, at least this last year, going through, like the AD&D stuff and even the Beckme stuff. That one, I got to admit, the Al-Qadim was probably the favorite review I did this last year. I really got into Ravenloft, the concept, but the execution was crap. But Al-Qadim was solid all the way across and so different, especially for fans of, Sinbad and Ray Harryhausen. Oriental's one of the best books, one of the most overlooked books in the 11, 12, whatever it is, hardbacks of the era.
I'm going to bring this up too. Is there are two areas which I wish they had done, but they don't. I would have loved to see a sub-Saharan African equivalent, which they never were able to do. And of course, people would scream and yell, nowadays. And I would love to see an Indian equivalent. Those are so unique. Their cultures are different. They're exciting. And it's like, oh, I get to go over this world now. And that's different. And you're just like, what they did, and whether people liked it or not, they made those areas cool. They made those areas cool where I wanted to play one of the characters in Mastika. I want to play one of the characters in Al-Qadim. I want to play one of the Oriental Adventures.
I don't know if I get into Mastika as much. I know Jackie, of course, could. I'm not into. I want a little bit more. I mean, if we would have had the opportunity to see that culture evolve a little further, a little more advanced technologically, I think I could have got more into it. But the leaves and the feathers and that sort of thing, I just can't get into it. Mind you, I am reading things like Khazar, Shauna of the Jungle, Sheena of the Jungle, whatever, and Conan and stuff. I really like that stuff in that aspect. But actually playing those characters, I just don't think I have enough experience with the ideas to do it yet. Eventually, I'm certain I could, because I know as a DM I could run you through it, but as like a player, I don't know if I could get into one of the characters.
But I'm going to say this much: that's okay. But they made the setting cool enough that I might want to explore it or have characters visit it at least. And I think that's the problem that we're having nowadays. Is God, I look at him like, why would I even want to go there? That's.
Okay, James, you win tonight.
Yeah, but
he wins every night.
But I mean that's the whole thing that But it was the same thing if you went into going to Lothlorien in Middle Earth. Lothlorien was nothing like that. Or going over to the mines of
see that.
Or going to the mines of Moria or Erebor. These are just cool areas. Minas Tirith. I mean, it's like there's a reason your characters want to travel the world. If it's just going to be going from like, hey, guess what, guys? You're going to go from Cleveland, Ohio to Indianapolis. You're going to be like, yeah, it's a little different. but so what? Whereas if you go over and say, well, you can go over to here and you can go to Buck Rogers, the spacing, you're like, cool, that's what I want to go do.
Christ brings a sword. I guess you've just met some of the people that aren't. Me being probably the prime example. Nice to have you to the show. I'm gonna have to recommend you go check out Nathan with the Quantum Show, where we talk about stuff like that normally every Saturday night, just not tonight because our host Nathan is working. But I'll put it in the chat. Nice to have you on board because I've never seen your handle before.
But it's very based.
But I also want to mention one other thing. I know RPG Grandma's bringing this into this, and I'm using D&D as an example. I wanted it so the point of you can't be certain things. It's limited. I do admit that with the way D&D did it, versus basic, I think this is where Axe does a better job. But when you have classes that can only be taken by certain races,
I think
that differentiates
I think it's a
them.
starting point. All that shit is a starting point for people coming into it. But I think it's been lost to you have to follow that. It's like a dogma. You have to be this. But I think it was the intent was this gets you started, get you know how to do it, then just play however the hell you want. That's what in my biggest beef on everybody. Is they fucking follow the damn rules. Stop. Just play it your own way. Just stop worrying about.
As a kid we did do that. As a kid but that's part of the reason I like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you walk into something brand new, you need that structure. You need that example. But I mean, we're all veteran players here. Even you, Jack. You got games under your belt. Stop following the fucking rules. Just play how you want. Stop worrying about that crap. Stop worrying about what others are telling you to do. Just do whatever the fuck you want. That's that's why I'm so drawn to the weird. I don't need a fantastical setting in space or another world or back in time. I can play those adventure, the party adventure games in Texas in 2023. I can make characters and I come up with a story and we're doing something, I can do it immediately. I don't need all this background and all this. I mean, I know it's fun to do that and live in these worlds that are, abstract and completely alien to what your life is. And that's fine, but you can just create that yourself.
Very true.
That's true. But a lot of it is, a lot of it is, Brian, I don't want to have to put that much effort into it. I like to break into someone else's world. And I like to go in other people's worlds. I want to live in their worlds.
Kinds of gamers. There's gamers that just want to play a game. They want to roll some dice for a couple hours and enjoy it. And then there's those who want to create their worlds. And I mean, I get it.
I like all of the things. If I didn't, I wouldn't be going. I wouldn't be an RPG slut. Just going around playing anything with anyone kind of thing. That's.
I mean, I can see, I can see the draw to that. You're interacting with people, you're having fun, it's entertaining. It's and that's fine. It's just, I mean,
okay.
My advice to everybody is just find what resonates with you and just do that.
No, I agree. Well, what this is if you listen to what was Kevin Sambita, he was playing D&D and he said, I'm going to do my own house rules. That's what became Palladium, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what people should do in an ideal world. I know that's what Bear's doing with the Bastard Sword. At the end of the day but you know what? I don't want to have to play test all the games either. Let's try some other ones. And some games fall flat with me. They do. Others I've enjoyed, and some I don't. I left and I've gone back. I enjoyed playing the old BX equivalent, the OSE stuff.
There isn't a lot of brand new game design.
I've probably encountered more in the last 5 years than I had in the previous 20, to be fair. But
I mean, there's different variations of mechanics I've seen before, adding to something. But I mean, it's just, and that's how it works. It's like someone adds this little tidbit and it changes, and then
it's an evolution.
Adds from that, and then it's like, it just grows upon itself. But I mean, it's not like this game. It's like, guys, 5th edition and AD&D are not a lot of different. It's similar. You know what I mean? The math behind it might be different, right? And the look might be different, but it's still stats versus stats. You're rolling damage, that kind of shit. It's the same fucking thing. It's just how it's, it's how it's, how the mechanics work. It's just, but it's the same fucking mechanics in generality. It's not this blowing your brain, the whole new idea. That was
but there's mood and tone. Don't get me wrong, is I like where they do some of the evolution. Now some of them have fallen flat with me, but I like to try new things. I do. I like to see what works. But I also like
you said mood and tone. That could be inserted in any rule system.
No, it could, but I'm telling you, certain systems work better than others, but that's kind of where it has to be developed from the ground up. But like I'm going to be honest with you, is having used your system, like there are ways we can probably figure out mathematically how to simplify it.
Like you saying that, and I appreciate that criticism, but I like my system. You know what I'm saying?
No. What I meant is that just how do I put this? Statistically, we could simplify it so it does the exact same thing, just without looking at much charts. Yeah.
Yeah. I get
it. Part of it comes down to is the more. So again, and this is the thing I don't get mad about people. Pick things that you enjoy, and certain things work out well. And every game system breaks down at a certain point. It does, unless you put limitations on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. If it breaks down, then you say, okay, where does it break down? And say, okay, and then go.
What do you mean by breakdown?
Breakdown. What's that?
Like falls apart or gets stale or?
It does. It gets stale. It does certain parts. It begins to not scale linearly. It goes either exponentially off the rails. Things that you can. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm referring to, and that's why you kind of have limitations. But in the same token, this is why certain systems do better at certain power levels. It's like this one where I'll tell you this much: D&D really works probably fantastically up to about 5th level. It does, and then once you start going past that, then it's like, okay, it starts changing. And I know you want to play the higher stuff, and I'm like, well, there are other game systems that might work better for what you're looking for.
If you like the mechanics of like whatever, you can just. But this is the thing, you got to do it. You got to if you want to play level 20, in 5th edition. You can do it, but what you can do is like everything is just dumbed down and your characters basically stay the same. You know what I mean? Everything else is reduced, but that's a lot of legwork for that one person to do, right? And you're never going to find like that perfect equilibrium in any game system.
No, that's what I said. That's why that's why I like looking at different systems for different power levels or different things. And if this is why I don't like things that are uncapped, because people always take it to the nth degree, and you go like, all right,
I know I do. But at the same time, I like to think I've learned over the years. A big thing is reading the table, because if it's one of my favorite skill sets is, be adaptable as the GM. If your players are, kind of, losing steam, find out why and fix it. Make there, be a reason to keep going. Otherwise, any game will lose steam. If you don't, keep on your players and find out what they want, because
and that's why I'm saying don't follow the fucking rules, because the rules, like Shadow saying or like Omen saying, they will stall and they will get stale. That's where it's up to you. And listen. For you to be like a good gamer or an enjoyable gamer, you gotta bend and you gotta break this shit, because it has to. Because no one has written any rules that will work in every situation, every mentality. It's up to the player to decide.
And that's why I don't say that there's one great system for any of them. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, yes, James, I agree with you. Yes. Well, and the difference is, are you playing by the spirit of the game? This is the other part, especially as we get older. are we playing by the spirit of the game? Or are we playing by the rules of the game? And I prefer playing by the spirit of the game. And that's why sometimes, like, I don't really care. You know,
Grandma, all the way.
If I'm expected to know all the rules sometimes, I'm like, look, just tell me what I have to roll and you roll the crap for me after this. I just want to tell you what I'm doing. You know, because I have the tendency of a power gamer. This is why I joke with Shadow. Hey, Shadow, can I do this with my monk that can do 1,200 points of damage in a round in first edition? That's not going to be a good game. It's just not.
Well, you just, you'll be amazed how many creatures you're going to run into. They can only be hit by +1 or better weapons.
Yes, yeah, but I was using a magic weapon. That's the problem. It doesn't make for a better game.
Where'd you get the magic weapon?
He's never seen a magic weapon, remember?
But again,
to be honest, none of that bothers me. If I get one player,
it may not bother you, but it does bother the other. But it does bother the other players. It does bother. It bothers me when I start looking at things, and I can tell when people are not in the spirit of the game in certain ones, and they're just min-maxing it. It's like, again, am I playing with the mental math so I can try breaking the game? I've seen people doing that, or are they doing it because it makes sense for their character? And there's three very different parts. Yeah.
But to be fair, Uma, you are a mechanics guy.
I know. I am.
You like to break it down, and and that's your thing.
It is, but I have to break myself away from that to actually. And at the end of the day, when we talk about reading the table, it's not just the GM. The players need to read the table too on who they're playing with. And
it's a good point. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah,
because, if you're playing with
sounds like something Max would say.
That becomes a mechanics game. It doesn't come. It's not like like, hey, we're having fun and da 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 da. It's about lining up all this mechanical shit to do that mechanical thing every fucking time, and it's just like.
I agree, James. That's why I'm one of the few GMs I know who still uses, some of the armor rules, the weapons versus armor, speed factor, not so much, but I definitely like the weapon versus armor table. That, like, I've never met anybody who used it.
Well, I love the idea of it. I don't like it in practice because it slows the game down a lot, and that's
not if you got the wheel. If you've got that wheel,
yeah. But the other thing is that the players have to go. I mean, it's great if you have everyone that are 100% into it. It's just like Rollmaster. As much as my friend talked about it, you're going to go through it. But I like some things that are fast, and different games work differently with different people. That's part of it. Some people love to have tons of charts. Man, if I have to,
Grandma, you might like Amazing Adventures. If you like Castles and Crusades, it's the same engine, I believe.
So I'm not trying to knock it. I think there are a lot of good games out there. I think people should try as much and then find the game that works for you and your group.
I'm a game fan. I like to play games, right? But I just keep telling people, just make your own game. Find the shit that you like. Like Omen.
I'm writing that down, James.
Omen knows the mechanics of these games, of all this different shit, and he can combine what he likes and make the game for him. You know what I mean? And you guys can do that too. Find the game that you like. If you don't like that bit, it's nixed. Add
exactly.
It with else.
And you know what? My suggestion is always play rules as written until the point that you look at it and say, this isn't working for the group. Then you sit down with the group, you all have a discussion, and you move on. And that's why every table is different. This is why I don't mind playing on different tables.
There, James.
I like to play with different DMs. Some of it is like, but at the end of the day, you're using your friends. So, I know you're using it as an excuse to get together with your friends. Mm-hmm. Don't be a dick about it. I don't care what it is. Don't be a dick about it. As much as I give Brian hell, when we go to his, when we were going through his, we would sit there and talk about the rules. What about this? Well, what about this? What about this? It's like, oh, okay. And then hey, let's create a new rule for this. And that's how every game has ever evolved.
Yeah, it's called play testing, folks. I wish these professional game designers would do a little bit more of that shit before they sell their crap.
Trust me, I have to beat that home quite often out there. Not with the people I'm actually doing that with, because they actually get it and do a crap ton of it. But I can instantly look at a game and go, yeah, this was play tested with about 10 people, maybe 2 groups.
The game designers play tested with each other. Well, that means only their mindset. There's no outside, different way of thinking. It's them 2 or 3 are doing it.
Yeah, a lot of the play testers are absolute echo chambers, which is the term I was looking for. Yeah, and that's not play testing.
And then they're all shocked when they're like, "What? We never thought people would do this."
Never thought of that. Well, no shit.
Well, what you do is, you do this in computer programs or stuff like that. You get people trying to break your system. You do, and in the certain cases, that's, and then this is why we all joke about it.
That's Jackie's jam right now is WW1.
Oh yeah, this is why.
What do you mean right now? I've always liked World War I.
I like World War I too.
I meant right now. Give yourself 5 years. We'll see.
I still love World War I.
It's the superior war. World War II was just good guys versus bad guys, with like a little exception of the Soviets were pretty cringe. But World War I, there's actual nuance to it.
World War I was fun because you got everything through there, from horses charges to all sorts of machine guns to tanks.
That's why it's one of the reasons I probably like Mutant Chronicles, because it is World War I in space.
It is. Well, actually, even 40K steals some of that too. Is when you start looking at the signs. But that's part of what comes into it. Is you want people to break the system down, and you can always put warnings on there. But this is why I've noticed in D&D, as much as we talk about first edition, that's first edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That's not the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. That's like the third edition of Dungeons and Dragons, because you got the white box. And then you got one of the basic ones right at the same time, and then they went to the advanced. And you can tell if they learned. They learned on what people were doing. Then they got mad because people were doing things that were different. It's well, that's actually, this is from a computer game standpoint. How did Baldur's Gate 3 do so well? They play tested it for 3 years with the community before releasing the final version. Which
that seems to be like maybe a little too much play testing. Just be not from a play testing standpoint, but from a marketing standpoint. It's like, well, we've already given them the milk. Why would they pay for
but they made a fantastic game by making sure that they had it.
I've never played. I've heard it.
And speaking of which, guess what the CEO did? The CEO would dress up in plate mail, and he would play Dungeons and Dragons for the. See, that's the difference that you have when I'm hearing them talk about WotC Hasbro. The executives don't play the game.
Well, it's because it's just an IP. It's just another product. It has no other meaning than that.
And you can tell because there's no love in it. It's just, it lost a lot of its charm, which is unfortunate. Which, I'm not saying that everything was the greatest in second edition, but man, and I'm not saying under what's her name, Williams. She didn't allow some people to play test, but man, I love the fact that Ravenloft came out. I love the fact that Dark Sun came out. I love the fact that Mastika came out. Al Qadim.
I'll give you that, but I hate what they did to the core books. The core rules I absolutely despise.
I've seen both, and I have mixed feelings about them. My biggest thing was that instead of making really good, again, settings, like you said, settings over
not
system.
To say that there weren't some good changes in 2E,
sure,
as in new innovations, but the nerfing or changing of things that weren't broken.
Such as what, for example?
The Ranger. I like the old Ranger better. The new Thief, better. The new Magic User, better. With the Specialists, the new Priests, better. Nerfing Fireball down to 10d6.
Hey. No. We've talked about that, and it makes sense because, again, there's a certain point where the system breaks down. For a third level spell,
but how about this? How's the role playing? See, you're getting caught up in the fucking mechanics again.
I know.
Yeah, I've always had a good, solid group of role players, despite what some people might think. Because for me, I've literally determined that there is a thing called too much role playing and not enough. There's a happy medium. Okay,
Yeah.
If you cannot tolerate for 1 second breaking of immersion, you need to get yourself some VR goggles and just never unplug, because that's what you want. You have
Congratulations. You have now
just
just created a 2-hour live stream, but based on those like 5 seconds of you talking on Shauner's channel.
No, I mean, but here's what it comes down to. And I'm not saying Shadow's always said setting over system, and I'm not disagreeing with that, because I can modify or bring in different rule systems for it. But I do think that a good game has incorporated the mechanics to do it. Now, he and I can argue, but really what it came down for me is, I know he talked about nerfing Fireball at 10th level. For me, it's like, well, then you just use a higher level spell that's just called an improved Fireball. You cast it as a 4th level spell or a 5th level spell or something like, oh, okay, that'd be fine. But a lower level spell should never outdo a higher level spell. Is part of the problem I have.
The reason why I like the Fireball the way it is for the bad guys. So often you've got that one bad guy, Magneto, Dr. Doom. He's got to face off against a crap ton of
Then you just
Teenage
boost
Mutant
it
Ninja
for
Turtles.
him.
Him
We just
having
make-
the ability to freaking
Manipulate.
throw an 18 die
Then
fireball.
you just
at the
give
party.
him that ability. What's stopping you from
then
doing
the
that?
Player, it just thanks, Grandma. I just like the ability of that being able to just incinerate a player. They know right off the bat, if he tosses a fireball, someone's dead. Okay,
well, but see, for me is
strategically.
But if you're already at 18th level, then why isn't he just casting a 9th level version of a Fireball to do that? That's my
one,
point.
because they don't get that many 9th levels to begin with,
That's
and I like to use
intentional.
those for the spells that do completely way out.
See, that's one of my biggest beefs about fucking fantasy role playing is the limitation of spell casting. You only have so many. You can only squirt out so many spells a day. Now that's stupid. It needs to be like
it's very stupid.
Like you get tired or fatigued. You don't need to you can only do this. I mean,
I'm totally agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm fine with the idea that there's a limitation of how much magic you can do in a certain amount of time before like some rest or prayer or meditation or whatever. But the idea that at the beginning of the day you choose what spells you can use for the rest of the day, it doesn't make it's so how does that magic system even? I kind of get it for gameplay purposes. I still think there was a much easier and much more coherent way of doing it.
You're just writing scrolls at the beginning of the day.
No, I'm going to mention this much: is how many of you actually have read Jack Vance? If you haven't read Jack Vance and you don't understand where the Vancian system has come from, that said, I hate it just as much as you guys do. I much prefer the Conan one. I much prefer the Palladium one. I much prefer the Shadow one.
I had a simple system. You would convert your spells per day, right? Okay, say you've got 5 first level, 4, 3, 2. 5 first level gives you 5 points. 4 second level gives you 8 points. 3 third level gives you 9 points. You get it? You figure that out. The spells that you have in your book are the ones that are memorized. You choose what spell you're going to cast, mark off that number of spell points. Okay, I cast the 3rd level, I'm down 3 points.
So
you
Shadow
can convert seconds into first, thirds into first.
So Shadow
into a third. Simple.
That's what I used to do. When I did it, instead of doing the D&D version, that's how I used to do it. And then the other one I used to do was, you want to cast a more powerful Fireball, and you don't like the limit of 10d6, then pump in some more points, and then you can do more damage. And so now you're counting as a higher level spell. That's what I would do.
You want to cast a magic missile, but you're spending 2 points. It's double everything.
It is, but I don't let you get the full level limit. I'm like, oh, okay, you get the limit like they did in 2nd edition, If you want to push it past that, then you have to spend more spell points equivalently. That's
and then
but
why
we're
I
arguing about mechanics here. That's really what it's about.
But we're talking about a more realistic magic use, because it's like, you know, like Jackie's saying, it's like, why would you not know how to cast Zing Zong? You know, you've done it
because
20 years in your life.
The Vancian version was that it was literally etched into.
Now,
yeah.
You're hooked on this like Vancian whatever. I don't know what.
No. I'm not hooked on it. I am telling you where it came from.
No. And that's what I'm trying to break away from. I'm saying
I agree with you.
It's a mechanic. It's just how it's done. And
I don't like how it was done in D&D. Yeah. That's why I went to other systems. To be fair, I mean,
but it's like But like spell like you know, people keep saying level spell, this level spell, dude. The spell does one fucking thing, like magic missile. Okay, it only shoots out 3 missiles. That's fucking it. It doesn't shoot 5 or 10. The more powerful you get, the spell is you shoot out 3 missiles, and that's it. It's just that's what the spell is.
But see, this is why I liked it when they did with Shadowrun and some of the others, which is no, you can put more power into it, so now it shoots off 6 spells or 8 spells or 12. But it depends on how much magic you want to invest in there, and it always has the negative effect of, guess what? Now it starts taking health from you. Now it starts taking this.
That's what I like. I like magic because magic is usually foreign, right?
Yep.
It's not an everyday thing. So the people who are using it have to be masters of it, right? And you know, it obviously, since it's not from the real, like the natural world, it's dangerous. It can be dangerous because it's not normal. You're not supposed to be doing it, you know, normally. So that's why there's that danger, that cost, you know, your sanity or your physical being or your soul, you know, or whatever it is. So, I mean, I like that.
Yeah, and that's what I like too. And to be honest, that's a different system than D&D. It's, you know, the part of it comes down to it is, but again, this way I mentioned Palladium was.
Sorry, guys.
Wait, hold up.
Oh.
The Battle Wizard?
The Battle Wizards of Chainmail. Chainmail was from the D&D version of the early 70s.
It's like a war.
You're thinking different Battle Wizards.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah, you're thinking different Battle Wizards. Sorry. You know, you're thinking of the one that you made us watch.
Yes, he is.
Greatest movie ever made.
But
which one?
It was so bad. It was fun. It was so bad. I actually laughed and enjoyed it.
It's a movie called Battle Wizards.
It is.
You should watch it.
It's definitely worth a watch. Brian, you would get a chuckle out of it. It's so bad.
I'll look it up. Battle Wizards, I guess.
Oh, it's hilarious. You have to watch the guy with chicken legs that has the prosthetic chicken legs as he fights and shooting the lasers and all sorts of stuff. Oh, let's not forget the Beast. The Beast is hilarious when you.
Don't spoil what the Beast is.
Yeah, don't tell me. I'll watch it.
It's only when you see it can you go, my God, this is so terrible. Yes, it was. But it's so bad. This is the level that Mystery Science Theater 3000 wishes the movies that it had reviewed had been. I mean, it's that bad. It's so bad you have to laugh. But no.
I can't find my copy of Chainmail, Grandma, and it bugs the snot out of me. And real quick, Brian, AD&D was its own sort of. It took all the things that you were talking into account and said, we're going to do it this way instead anyways. It was its own sort of you know,
you gotta commit. If you're selling a product, you got to commit. I mean, you got to commit to a mechanic. You can't just like because no one's going to buy the damn thing.
It's not so much the mechanic, it's the style and feel of the world. Magic was not
that setting. That's setting.
Yeah, that is.
That's setting. That has nothing to do with like
that setting wanted more magic, not less. Because up until that era, it had always been less. Gary and friends wanted a setting where magic was a lot more prolific. Not Gonzo, that was David A. Hargrave, but they wanted it to be a step above the low level of Conan. They wanted to be more like I want to say Elric's proliferation of magic in the world. It's all over the place, but not not to the ultimate level, but more than had been in fantasy and fiction prior to that. And then, people went a little too crazy with it and forced people back into the sort of the older mentality of magic is bad, magic is very rare, not magic is like just around the corner. When you have, think about it, when you have every priest actually able to perform magic, it makes the whole setting a lot more magical. You can't go into any small village and not have a spellcaster, because you're at least going to have a priest. And once you have that sort of understanding that magic is real, you're going to get more people wanting to participate. And you can't have
that's another thing that changes the whole society. It's like
it does.
People are going to live forever.
It absolutely does.
People are going to live forever because there's a priest that can zap you. Priests are kidnapped and use their power. All sorts of shit.
I'm going to mention a couple other things in there, and it depends. What people forget about is when you look at the titles, the first level fighter is not the guy that's off the farm. It says veteran. That's a first level fighter. That means he's been on a campaign. He's seen battle. They weren't. That was part of it. When you look at, what is it, Heroes 4th or 5th level? I mean, you can really feel some of these things when you do it. I've been playing with Ye Olde Geekin', on Saturday mornings. And once you get up to like 3rd and 4th level, you're like, oh yeah, I can feel I'm powerful, which sounds funny because, a lot of us grew up with more stuff. And even Gygax at a certain point, he put things in there not thinking that people would hit at that 20th level. That was more aspirational than reality.
Yeah, he himself said in Dragon Magazine, no DM should ever let a player get above 11th level. I'm like, that's when I want to start playing campaigns. I want to start an AD&D campaign where everybody starts out at 10th level, and we'll fill in your backstories and make things happen, and then start going and seeing if it's a matter of burnout getting to 10th level, or if you can actually run really strong campaigns at that power level, because 10th level isn't really that powerful.
10th level is almost it's hugely powerful. The problem is that you get into this how do I want to put it, the power cycle. Oh, you get through this, you get through this, you get through this. But I mean, playing the basic book, we've been playing the basic stuff, and I know we've been playing with the modified OSC advanced stuff. It's interesting watching how everyone goes in there like, oh no, but we have a 4th level cleric, and we feel like he has more hit points than the rest of the party combined, which is funny. And we're talking about 6 or 7 characters total.
That's one thing. Like I liked advancing the parties.
Yeah.
After the campaign, I didn't do fucking XP because XP is stupid. It just all of a sudden I gained this trait without any kind of. I hit a duck, and oh my god, now I have another D12 or some bullshit. I usually did all that shit after like a battle or a campaign.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, because of your adventure and your actions and what you've done in the campaign, you've gained a level.
Did you play where training was mandatory to even get the level? See, we as a good DM, you can give them all the XP in the world. They don't just magically ding and get that stuff. They got to go train, pay for the training, and sometimes finding a trainer or a place to train is damn near impossible.
What I did is like the campaign, the adventure that you went through, everything that you went through was the training that elevated you to that next level.
So with training rules, it really slows down a game.
It does, and that's what I'm saying. It's because for 5 for 5 missions in this campaign, your paladin has been hacking shit throughout this whole campaign and surviving, and it's that steady hacking throughout those various. That was his training that elevated him to the next level.
So I'm going to bring
talking to the sensei or anything like that.
I'm going to also bring up the other point is, the way that we played D&D is not really the way Gygax played it. He played with a troop style where there were different players almost every night or different characters playing every night. And training was a way of forcing players to have to switch characters out instead of them playing every time that they were there. That was part of it. But, like I said, we've been playing basic. Do you know how often my character levels my character levels every third to fifth adventure if I'm lucky. That's how I'm still waiting to get up to second level, and that's one of the characters died. When you have like 2 to 5 hit points, you play completely differently when you're going in there. And when you have 30 hit points, you kind of feel like you're a badass, but the threats are still there. I think part of the problem that I have with it is not is if you actually read the Dungeon Master's Guide, what does it say? The players should never know the rules because it removes the magic of the game, which I think, now that said is as soon as we do it, of course many of us being Dungeon Masters is we want to know the rules because we like to know it to create stuff. But
I know it's time for us to go.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
No worries. We've got some other stuff to do. I'm going to shut the show down here, but you guys can continue to talk. But we have some festivities. What?
I think I'm gonna go to bed. I'm sleepy. It's past my bedtime.
Hey, Brian. Like I was saying before, you gotta let me know what you're doing on Friday.
This coming up, right? Yeah. I got some family coming into town. I'm not sure if it's Friday or Saturday, but I'll let you know, dude.
Well, the reason is I don't even have to stay there long. I just want to hand you off the paints and the airbrush.
Yeah, dude, you can come over anytime for something like that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then in 2 or 3 months, I'll take back whatever you haven't used.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's fine.
And you don't have to pick me up anything either, dude. It's whatever. I just want you to have fun. Because they're not being used now, and they're going to go dry eventually. And I don't even know if they're dry or not.
Yeah.
So
you want to get rid of it?
That's why you need some medium. All right, guys. I will talk to you guys. I won't be in Connell's show tomorrow. I'm going to church. Yeah.
Really?
I know. For first time in decades. Yeah. Literally. I don't even want to say how long it's been. No, technically I've been in a church,
too long.
but I haven't gone to church. If you know what I mean. So you guys have a great weekend. Everybody out there, Merry Christmas. We love you guys. Thank you guys so much for playing along tonight. And one last thing before I go, our good friend Justin is not feeling so good. So if you can throw out any prayers or happy thoughts for him so he gets better. We don't want him to miss Monday, with Hungar, etc. Everybody out there, like I said, have a great weekend. Merry Christmas, James. I need to chat with you real soon. Everybody else, adios and have trails as possible. Good night, guys.
Good.
Oh wow, he dropped off. And I'm